Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Andreas, Deacon, my boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts, etc. Keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else from Great Memes.
We're not even like seconds in, and we've already gotten our first super chat. I just want to make sure my audio is right. I'm not even using the right microphone.
Ballin'.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Can you hear me better now? Is my sound better?
Sounds great.
Yeah,
You sound
yeah,
a little
okay.
quiet.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well then we'll fix that again. See,
Actually,
it's
no,
always
you
worth
sound
it.
good. You sound good now.
Now we're good? Okay.
Yep.
Well, you know what I'll do is also put my microphone a little closer to my face. And then the point is 5-leaf clover. 5-leaf clover, that's better than a 4-leaf clover. And they gave us 5 memberships. So if you haven't already grabbed them, I love that song, says RJ said. And then Mythoclass. There's people watching right now that don't have memberships. This is your chance. You can grab a membership from 5-leaf clover. Oh my God, Superman made it. Are you cool, Superman? Can I show you right now?
Yeah, what's up? I'm just working on a new setup. I'm filming videos and stuff, so I'm getting everything going. And you want to see something real cool?
Yeah. What's up? Whoa, no way. What? Ugh.
Yeah, multiple
Hey,
shots.
that's pretty sweet. Hey, that's something Chris could do next time because
This
Chris
is
just got a
called
new
emphasis. That's called regular.
Yeah.
emphasis.
Living in the
Emphasis
future.
shot? Dude. He's a real Hollywood magician, I gotta say. You know, for a guy in New York. I mean, I guess movie magic does come from New York. I said it before, but I'm gonna say it again. Happy releasing of the J6 hostages. I just think that that's kind of the
You made
the
someone so
zeitgeist.
mad. Yo, read. I want to see that comment where someone got like super pissed off.
Oh,
You lost
Bosma.
all absolutely fucking sickening. If
If this is what's funny. If not meant tongue in cheekly, your credibility is shot, which is like on every level. It's like, well, in other words, I mean, so my credibility is not shot. Like, what does that? I mean, what does that even mean? When you say
You
welcome
had
home,
credibility until 5 minutes ago.
as soon as you made that
you
post,
had it.
dude, you,
Yeah,
now-
but
now
then
It
you-
was
now
it
you're-
was because of this one specific thing that you lost credibility for. Nothing else.
Slipped through your fingers.
but you got to understand, like, these are not like randoms. This is like my group. I know this. I don't know Bosma from from Manny
Madam.
Bos. No, I'm trying to remember. I was gonna say like from Manny Bothams. Who killed who died to bring us the Death Star information? Manny
the Bothans.
Manny Botham. Yeah, that's right. I don't know him from Manny Bothams, right?
No, I think the sentence was many Bothans died, not many Bothans.
Yeah, it's sad that Manny died. Mr. Manny Bothams.
Oh, okay. I was a little confused right there.
I have a way of looking at things that are different. You know, that's my whole. Anyway, here's the thing: that the guy, your credibility, you're absolutely effing sickening, Andreas. If not meant tongue in cheekly, your credibility shot. And then he sends this: the biggest traitor, Benedict Donald.
in America.
Is this not like already preceding my lack of credibility? Isn't this like more incredulous? Isn't that the word? Is this incredibly incredulous that this is coming from
that'll
this
work.
person? I feel like it's like pouring, gasoline on a fire to put it out. It doesn't really, it doesn't
You
translate.
should see you should see what me and Freddie just did. We just told them, actually, okay, the mask is off. Andrew, sorry, bro, but like we're coming to round you up. We're putting you in a camp. I just barely 5 minutes ago just told him that the plans are that in 2 months that's when we're coming. And
Yo, dude, that's not a joke. That's not
March
even like
20th.
Yo, it's no kidding. The fear mongering in the meme pool in the ether is no joke right now. Like I literally seconds ago I just saw one saying like, oh, if you think these right-wing conservative preppers wouldn't relish in the thought of owning slaves, you think they're gonna use their guns and their quote unquote martial skills to farm and plow? No, they're planning on not being the ones who have to. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, come on. This isn't helping anything.
Like, I mean, it's not like it's literally you're already in a camp. You know what I mean? You're either in camp A or camp B. You're either in the red or blue pill. You're either in the Psyche meme or the Tartary Nova meme kind of group, right? That's the trying to close all these. But hold on, Psyche meme is you can either choose. There you go, Psyche.
I want to say I only answered a
Yeah,
God.
look at the post that I just made. The jig is up. Elon exposed us.
Yo,
is
actually,
it in Psyche meme or Futura?
Oh, it's in Psych.
Yo,
Psyche meme.
While you're looking that up, Andreas, I want to ask you, since you seem like to be aware of frameworks and stuff, how solid is the 10 Commandments? Like, if you lived your entire life following the 10 Commandments, would you like life? Like, do you think like you'd be able to stay out of trouble?
Andreas, can I also throw something in there?
You know, freaking crazy. I was gonna be like 613 Kabbalah, and then just say let Superman take this one.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I grew up Orthodox
Right.
Jewish, both modern and traditional. Now, non-Jews can live a righteous life if they follow the Noahide laws. They don't necessarily have to follow the 10 Commandments, but they can follow the Noahide laws and still live a perfectly righteous life. So. Jews
sort of like how a transgender person can live a perfectly normal life. Keep going.
Yeah, but you need to scream that you're transgender at people in order for it to work. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Right. Also, I would say Noahidism is not quite as godly, or
Well, yeah, the problem is I don't know about this like New Age translation stuff.
Fair.
So like if you're
like
gonna,
7 out of 10 rules, right? It's not all the 10
basically you follow as much as you can and no big deal. Jews, we have 613 mitzvot.
Yeah.
That means good deeds. We cannot do all of them because we don't have the capabilities to do all of them. So if somebody goes, oh well, you're Jewish and you don't do this or that, you're like, yeah, bro, we can't do that. So like, take a chill pill.
However, you know what? I have met some old Jews who in their life endeavor to try to commit the 613 mitzvahs. And yeah, it's like virtually almost impossible.
Technically, it is impossible because you have to be purified at the temple for some things.
Exactly.
And the temple no longer exists, and we don't have a red heifer to sacrifice. Like, there's a lot of things surround. Andreas knows this very well. In Judaism, we say you should do one thing, but then there's like 100 different ways to do it and why to do it. It's a little annoying.
It would be funny if Clark Kent was actually Jewish and he just used his superpowers to to follow the Orthodox like laws, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna vote."
Why do you think his name is Kal-El? Sorry, Superman.
Written by 2 Jewish immigrants from Europe during an oppressive time when they felt like they had no power, so they decided to create something that gave them the power back. A lot of it is very biblical, and it's a little unnerving, and it's okay. You guys can appropriate Superman. He can celebrate Christmas as long as he's making everybody happy.
Well, first off,
my wife is convinced.
Shot in the dark.
He was modeled after Samson. That's why he has a great strength. Is the Samson thing? There's actually like a Samson is a hero tradition. Possesses strength of a dozen Samsons. That's like the first one of the first things that he says. Knocks down the support pillars of a great hall, proclaiming a guy named Samson once had the same idea in this issue 2, 1939. Okay, 1939. What was going on in 1939 that Jews might be commenting about that they need to have an
Oh,
Ubermensch?
nothing, man. You know, we were
I
just
wonder
taking a
what it
little
could be.
vacation, just a break. You know, we were just traveling different countries,
Chilling.
seeing
I wonder
things.
what it was, right? Yeah, and then the Golem of Prague was a strong influence, of course, because Siegel recalls how he'd been increasingly frustrated with the rise of anti-Semitism in Europe and the U.S. as well, and is favored and impressed by a movie called The Golem, which was about an avenging being who used his awesome strength to crush a tyrant and save those who were being oppressed, which is a pretty awesome silent film. If you haven't seen the Golem movie, it's basically like he makes like a mud demon, but it's empowered by a eudaimon. It's empowered by God's hero, essentially. So there's actually a lot in Superman. The Golem inspired his best known enemy, Bizarro. Also, the Bizarro is the Golem.
That's
And
fucked up. That's Bizarro is an unfair depiction of autism. All right, I don't appreciate it.
It's true.
They're non-believers, right? They're the goyim, the autistic goyim.
I feel like Jews get autism, but I could be wrong. I'm just saying. But also not just have it, but understand it, get it. You know what I mean? But his publishers funded Jewish charities, right? So that's another thing. Money went towards it, and his creators got in a personal tiff with the Nazis. Siegel and Schuster published a 2-page comic and magazine look how Superman would end the war. Almost
Yeah, he knocked freaking Hitler out. It was beautiful.
Yeah, so it's like very directed that it's like an attack on the Germans' idea of a Nordic Ubermensch as opposed to an Indo-Aryan Jew, a Semitic Aryan. Like truly, this is an interesting thing to me. I've been thinking about recently. Like the Germans, they're not very Aryan. You know what I mean? They're Saxon. They're like furry Saxon people, but they have these Turks coming in, and the Turks lived. A lot of Turks have Persian blood and have therefore Aryan, if you will, blood. So they're importing migrants. But Jews were in Babylon, in Indo-Aryan Babylon, right? So the Jews are far more Aryan than the Germans could ever be, right? Which is kind of a funny thing.
The way our life works, man.
It's funny.
That's how it is.
My wife swears that I'm Jewish. Like she's convinced that that I'm Jewish. Yeah.
Did you tell her just because there's a circumcision, it doesn't count?
Well, she looked up my last name when she got married to me on Google, and apparently it comes from like some Jewish family. Like at least one version of Vesely comes from Jews, which it's Slavic, right? And it means like super, super duper happy. And I guess it said something about British Jews. I don't know much about it. My grandpa, I asked him one day because I suspected because that whole area of the world, because he does a lot of genealogy and stuff, and I asked him like, do we have any Jews in our family? And he said no, but I don't know if that's just because like he's really old and they're like weird about Jews, or if like I don't know, you know.
All right, well, I'm phoning. This is like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'm phoning your friend Superman. Give me a like. Do you have Judar? Can you tell other Jews apart? Does he look Jewish at all to you? Would you be able to?
The issue is my family comes from the Middle East. When people say I look Jewish, they mean European.
Oh, are you saying all Jews
I have a
don't look the same? What?
I have a different visual representation of Jews.
Yeah,
I mean, no. If anything, I think he is a descendant of some of the Pilgrims because he has some of that like real American look in him.
He's got that Mayflower style.
I am. I actually am. On my mother's side, though.
I
think
so
Colin
on my
confused
mother's side, I am like Dutch and Danish, and they're some of the first Mormons too. So I have Mayflower.
Say you look like a Mormon.
I have Mayflower in my ancestry, and I also have the Mormon pioneers in my ancestry.
While we're
on
this topic,
am I getting Pilgrims and Mormons mixed up visually?
Yeah, I just want to ask. Have you guys seen American Primeval yet?
No. American Primeval?
Yo, it's great. It's a show about Mormons, and it's actually a show.
Oh yeah, isn't that?
It's a battle of Utah and all that shit. It has like.
Oh shit, that's my shit.
Yeah.
I grew up in Utah. I want to watch that.
And
The
yo, the
Mormons-
Mormons are
What?
painted
Like, do I
really
have any
bad, like,
friends? Nobody
lot of
tells me
Mormons-
about these things.
dude,
Thank you, Chris.
some of the Mormons in the group, in the Facebook groups that you added me to, they were like talking shit about the show because they were like, "This show is racist against Mormons," and I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta watch that."
That's spicy, yeah. Speaking of spicy, Noel's here. How you do? Noel, you look amazing. You look like, like 1979, like you're gonna hunt down serial killers by dressing like them, but you're actually like hunting the Zodiac killer for the feds, kind of a look. You know what I
See
mean?
that?
That's good. What's up, bro?
He's on mute.
No, man. What's
Oh
up?
no,
We-
his
we
camera.
spoke a couple
I think
times.
his camera just it just passed out there. What happened? No.
Well, he was on mute. He probably tried to fix it and then like accidentally kicked himself out or something.
He melted it, dude, with his extreme looks.
Well, so I wanted to just really quickly finish up on the Superman thing. There's a couple more things I wanted to point out in case you didn't know how Jewish he was. The other thing is his dad's name is literally like El Elyon or Elohim, or the names of the gods of the Jewish people. So he's like a God man, like a son of God. It's kind of there's that little bit there too. That's pretty good.
Well,
and that's pretty much all I care.
I also want to say, like, I've been, I've watched all like the superhero movies. I've been into comics for like a couple of years in the past, a few years actually. And at the time, like, I was more secular minded. But then after having, my whole spiritual awakening and whatever, like, I look back and all this stuff, and it just looks like soft disclosure. Like I'm like reading stuff like Venom, and there's like reptilian undertones in that, and it's crazy. And all the biblical references too. That's definitely real, like Superman and Marvel too. You'd see a lot of it.
I think it's not a coincidence that there are biblical references in this. If you think about it, superheroes are the modern mythology, and most modern mythology has very, very key elements to storytelling in each hero's journey. So I could say Superman relates to this person, or I could say Superman relates to Perseus, or whichever hero's journey that exists.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that too, because Jews were in Greece. I think that the relationship between Greek mythology and Semitic mythology is a lot stronger than people realize as well. There's a reason why they had the pantheon before the Deuteronomists. The Jews believed in a pantheon. Elohim is plural, right? And Yahweh ends up being this all-encompassing, sorry to use, Hashem, but the idea of using a singularity to describe like the family of God. This is something that happens with Greek mythology after Jews end up in Greece and Rome. So there's a reason why Greco-Judeo influences, whatever you want to say about mythology in general, how they evolved into superhero comic books, and why people will say like, wow, superhero comics are the mythology of the 20th century. Well, it's not an accident. It's something that required depth. People that had
it's philosophy. All a cycle, dude. Literally, I think everybody here knows history to the point where they're like, okay, I can see this same thing happening over and over and over again. It's not just regular history that repeats itself. It's the stories.
Well, that's the difference, right? It's not just
Thank you, brother. Hold on. Bring that back up.
Yeah.
Mizrahis. Thank you, brother. Most people have no idea what a Mizrahi Jew is, so I thank you, my brother.
You feel seen and heard? Yeah.
I
know what it's
doing. Shit. Now I'm thinking about Jews because like I work for like Orthodox Jews. And
let's go full Jew right now. I'm gonna bring up more famous Jews. Fred Flintstone. Did you know Fred Flintstone's Jewish? Yeah, he's a Mizrahi. Like a whole, he's at least Hasidic. The whole thing when Fred Flintstone was originally written, he was gonna say Yahoo. Like whenever
honestly,
something good happens.
Yo, I'm gonna be real with you. Like the most interesting conversations I hear amongst like Jewish people is when Jews talk about other Jews, because they say things like, "Oh, Bukharian men, they're pigs, but they know how to treat a woman." And I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Or they'll talk about like
Jews. They have all these condiments in their fridge. Just too many condiments.
Our spice cabinet.
SY Jews. They'll talk about the SY Jews, like the Syrian Jews and stuff, and they abbreviate a lot of things. Like when I'm hanging with the Orthodox boys, they always like abbreviate shit. Like that's NG. Like it's no good. And just all sorts of weird stuff, and they know how to cook books like really good.
Bro, all I can say is there's a reason why we've been around for thousands of years. And it's not because we have power, it's because we know how to navigate certain things. I don't know if you ever heard a Jewish person argue before, but I can
It's
tell
mental
you
jujitsu.
it's insane. That is why we win. Because we're busy being like, oh, okay, this is the problem, but I'm going to think of all these different solutions and then work around it.
Very
Yeah,
particular.
the best
Very
one,
particular
the
people.
best example I
Very
heard was
detail oriented.
the best example I heard was when I think it was like two Jewish people arguing. One was like more a secular Jew, and the other one was like Orthodox. So it's kind of Zionist actually. And the secular guy was like, "Yeah, do you know what like all the horrible things Israel's done and all this stuff?" And then the other guy was like, "Yes, well, yeah, we did all this horrible stuff. We're so horrible. Now you see why it's so important. We need a country for when the world eventually turns on us." And then I'm like, holy shit, that's some good jujitsu, man. Like mental jujitsu. I was like, holy shit.
I mean, where do you think the word jujitsu came from, man?
Definitely not
Where do you think-
Brazil.
What about MAGA? You think MAGA comes from America or Krav Maga? You think
Don't
Krav
forget
Maga.
to.
Krav Maga. Krav Maga, man.
I've been thinking that for a few years now. All right, really quickly though, Fred Flintstone, super Jewish. Originally, he's supposed to say whenever something good happens, Yahoo! You know, like hooray. But the actor who did the voice of Fred Flintstone, is that Silvers or something like that? I forget who was the original voice
Something's
of.
over.
I think it was maybe it was Dawes Butler or Alan Reed. I forget. I think Dawes Butler maybe. Anyway, he had done Fiddler on the Roof. He was in the Fiddler on the Roof musical. And in Fiddler on the Roof, there's this thing he does. He's like, yabba dabba 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 yabba dabba dabba da. And
Oh my God.
no joke. He suggests, he's like, do I have to say Yahoo? Could I say yabba dabba do? Yabba dabba do. And they were like, oh, it's perfect.
My God.
That's how Jewish.
Insane.
That's how Jewish he is. And also, you want to bring that to Prometheus with the Flintstone and fire. There's a lot to it, I would say, with Fred Flintstone. There's levels upon levels with that guy. I did want to say that the 613 mitzvahs are also pretty interesting because there's this idea of Ptahhotep's 42 maxims. And so the idea that Moses, when he came down, he had extra commandments in his hand, and he sees the golden calf with his brother Aaron. And he's like, "What the heck?" And he smashes the tablets, right? And so
this is from a Mel Brooks movie. I've seen that one.
No, but it's also in the Bible that he has.
He's right. He's 100% right. He's 100% right. I'm just fucking with him.
But yeah, Mel Brooks is 100% right. It's not my fault. But there's this idea that like there were more than 10 commandments, right? Like the 10 commandments were of more commandments.
Well, I think about it this way: the 10 plagues were more than 10 plagues. They're multitudes. It's not simply like it's the translation.
These are the top 10 that we liked the most. You know, these are the ones that were really hilarious.
One idea that I've always been interested in was like they give you a set of rules, you follow these rules, but then like if you really truly do earnestly and sincerely follow these rules without just looking like you do, you gain a lot of benefits and you gain access to like all the mysticism stuff, right? Like that's when you're in a state where you could receive,
it depends because you have to grow up. You have to, for certain things, you have to be ready for learning. For example, for a lot of Jewish mysticism, you need to have children, you need to be over a certain age, you need to have a basis level, because this is something I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen. When people don't have a good base for knowledge and they go learn advanced material,
schizo.
Exactly. Like the knowledge is still there, but they don't have a base for it, and they completely bastardize the material. And then
let's just say,
or it's more serious than that. They destroy their whole lives. They literally go off the rails mentally.
Let's just say that happens even on a good day, you know, so that's worst case scenario. But on a good day, even maybe that's the thing is you're destroyed with a burning bush of fire, an acacia that consumes your soul. So you should have some kids as a backup plan in case God decides that you're not worthy and kills you and drives you mad from your brilliance.
I'm
you
definitely
just have kids ready.
I'm definitely a pro-natalist in that regard, and also in terms of just like on a Buddhist level, like in that kind of framework or that context.
Because women are suffering.
If you want to talk about like good religion, Buddhism and Judaism, like I've seen so many Jewish people have such a love for Buddhism. I don't know why, but from everything I've seen from like every Buddhist, it's the mutual respect amongst Buddhists and Jews is incredible. And I first of all, I love you, Buddhists. Thank you.
Well, I heard this one interview with like an Orthodox person. They were basically saying like, you know, the Jewish rules are like guideposts, and if you follow these guideposts, basically you get to a point where you become one with God's love, and then you get to spread that love to your surroundings because you just embody it naturally, which is also pretty Buddhist in a way, you know, because like if you just embody like the Eightfold Path instead of just like, you know, talking about it and studying it, and you actually practice it, well, at that point, you know, like you embody that, you gain that like Buddha mind, quote unquote. So it's like, I think that's like really cool. And also having kids in that regard, it's like, well, if you believe in the cycles of reincarnation and no one has kids, then the game's over, you know? So it's like, in a sense, it's like kind of a communal service to like have kids so you could keep that, you know, game going. It's like, if anything, like family lines are like transit lines for reincarnation in that sense. That would mean, right? Like, so it's like, I guess that's why healing generational curses would be so important, because it's like, you know, you got to fix the roads that you use.
That's actually another thing, bringing back, because you talked about the 613 commandments. There's 613 souls or something. Like, what's the deal? You have like 7 or 8 soulmates in a lifetime, multiple souls.
Andreas actually did some research when I spoke to him. Yeah, I was telling Andreas at one point that I was told in yeshiva there are 7 different soulmates for you throughout your period, depending on where you're at in life, what your level of Judaism is. So I have come to that belief. I'm not sure if I've already hit all 7 or what's going on, but you know, it's nice to be like, okay, there isn't one soulmate for you. There is one soulmate for you at 7 different points of your life. So if you're like, oh, I missed out my soulmate, you got more. You're good.
Right. But there's different kinds of love as well, right? Instead of the Greek kinds of love, Hebrew kinds of love, but also the idea of this kind of cycle or migration of the souls, that there's not just 613 laws, there's 613 parts of the body or of the soul of God, and there's 613 maybe even souls you're a part of, which is a crazy thought. Like, you're a part of 613 beings. I mean, it's hard to explain, right? But it's way deeper. Like, this is the thing. Kabbalah is pretty intricate in terms of a metaphysical system, so it's a little bit more complicated than reincarnation, but it's kind of like Buddhist reincarnation is kind of similar in a sense to this part.
So I mean, I've made it very clear I'm Mizrahi, and Mizrahi people are very, very, very superstitious. And we're raised.
Another reason we get along. I saw a black cat the other day, and I turned the other direction. I was like, no.
It's like I won't walk between 2 palm trees because I was told that's where the demons hang out. I'm not even like I actively do. I know it's weird, and you like.
I mean, now I'm going to be careful.
But like, yeah, you have to remember with a lot of this Kabbalistic stuff, it's dangerous.
Yeah, ask the Masons.
So you know,
why?
There's a reason
what
why
makes
I
you say
don't
that
know
it's dangerous?
things. Well, okay, so for example, when you're messing around with anything when it comes to like the power of God or magic or anything like that, you need to be very careful as to what steps you are taking to protect yourself. If you leave yourself open to getting screwed, then you're going to have to completely sanitize whatever area you were in. There were Jews when I was a kid who tried to like see demons in yeshiva, and they completely like clean it out, and because there were like, so you have to.
Oh no!
I don't mess with it just in case. Like, fine, if it's not real, cool, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. But like, if it is, I'm not going to take that chance. It's like you tell me to walk across the street. Don't worry, a car's not going to hit you.
That's the same way I feel about Ouija boards, man. My whole life, everybody, Ouija boards, stay away from them. I heard it so many times. Probably by the time I was 15, I had heard such dead serious tones in people's voice. Stay away from a Ouija board. Already about like 20 times that I was like, I think that maybe I'm just going to stay away from Ouija boards.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things you just don't take a chance on.
Yeah, but now it's
right. you here.
Yo, but
Howdy,
now
comrades.
but now it's like bleeding. Now this kind of sense, like this intuitive sense or whatever, for like, with like a spirit, your spiritual muscle or your spiritual body, I guess you could say. That's kind of like bleeding out into real life. You know, when like science starts catching up. When, for example, like you'll say like, oh, if you just like yell at rice or something, or you say nice things to rice, like it'll rot at a faster
I mean,
rate.
according to quantum physics, it would make sense. Saying nice things to rice would make it a tiny bit better.
But okay, so then if we think these things matter and actually affect your environment, well, what's the best and surefire, like quickest way to get into a positive state for your environment? I say it's prayer. I say it's practicing gratitude. I say it's meditation. You know, like what else is there? What are you going to take a pill every time just to be in a good, emit good vibes?
You
Like,
can
no,
All I know
every
is
time, but
if
it's
you're
not-
gonna start,
I mean,
if you're
not
gonna
just
start
pills, but I'm
opening
saying you're gonna eat
doors,
junk
you
food, you're
better
gonna
be
smoke.
damn sure. Like if you're gonna start opening doors, you better be damn sure that like and it's supernatural stuff, and you're somebody who believes in God or a higher power, whatever. Like you better be sure that like you're on the level with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I might not even want to consider doing it at all, but right? Like how do you like? That's all I got for right now. I lost my train of thought.
No, like you think about it, right? So, not sure in chat said, is praying magic? I don't think it's magic. Some people may say it is, depending on how you pray. But I do think that prayer, it doesn't matter what you like, who you're praying to, what you're praying to, does carry a certain level of calmness in people. You know, people could meditate, pray, whatever. When people find their center, it really does help. It's funny because I put on tefillin for the first time in a couple weeks last week, and then a couple hours later, I got like job offers. It's really weird how doing one thing that can connect you closer to whatever spirituality you're close to can actually change your entire surroundings and perspective.
Well, I think even on like just based on pure logic or even like a material basis, like let's take gratitude, for example. You know, like we really take gratitude for granted, but I argue if you're not thankful, you can't hope to ever elevate yourself in any aspect of life. You know, first of all, you have to be thankful to appreciate what you have, to be able to use it effectively to get you further along. So I think like in itself, like gratitude isn't just like a moral obligation. It's a tool. It's an actual like, you know.
Yeah. Well, if you're not grateful, then how? Sorry, if you're not grateful, then how can you like grab on to the next thing? Like if you don't know what you have, how can you get more?
And it's a good hack. For example, no matter how shitty things are going in your life, you could stew in it. Yeah, but if you could find one thing to be and I've had friends tell me the weirdest shit. They'll be like, yo, I had like my ex-boyfriend had just killed himself and I was having a really crummy day and I was being completely sarcastic. Like I have a cookie, I have a cigarette, I have my friends and my video games and I'm thankful. And she was like, and oddly enough, that fucking made me feel actually better. And they made better decisions that day. And I was like, yo, that's a powerful thing, you know? And if you could consciously do this every day, I mean, that's the first thing I do every day. I thank God every day, every morning. My friend in AA taught me this. Like I was never in AA, but having a friend in AA, he gives you all these like weird hacks that now I know they are stolen from mysticism. They steal this shit from Gnosticism. So like
AA is totally into mysticism.
All of them.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, you know, they say to like wake up. It's like if the first thing you do is like look at your phone or jerk off or smoke a cigarette or whatever, it's like that's gonna be you put that before God. But if the first thing
You wake up like a lion rising from its cage with a big roar, bringing on the day. Yeah.
So and it's as simple as just thank you, God. You know, it's like thanks God for letting me wake up today.
First thing we do when we wake up, we say, "Modeh ani lefanecha." You know, we thank God for our life. We thank God for being who we are. You know, that's the literal first thing we do. So the first thing you're supposed to do when you wake up is thank God and everything. So that might actually be a good reason why things change for people throughout the day.
Vega, you got a sword? What are you waving at me?
And it's a 40 round 9mm Glock magazine.
Of course.
Microphone.
YouTube, it's a prop. YouTube, it is a prop.
It's a microphone. Real. It's a microphone.
He's a communist. He's left wing. It's okay.
Okay. So I was gonna say, if you look at the money magicians and the language that they use, appreciation means that it's growing in value. It's appreciating. So appreciation is as much a verb as it is like a noun, I guess. You could say like to have gratitude is to give value to it. And as someone, as a veteran of Alcoholics Anonymous, one of my favorite prayers was the 9th step prayer, I believe. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. And it's really about just like handing over your problems. And because like the universe, if you look back at all the crazy things you survived, the universe has met you more than halfway to get you through it, which is a really miraculous thing. It's a marvelous thing. You know, we're all in this together. None of us are ever truly alone. You know, the same way that we come into this world from the source, we will return to it at some point. And all of our individual identities and social security numbers and names and faces, those are just like, they're temporary. You know, it's like a temporary facade that you know, is just it's theater. This is just theater.
It's funny you say it's temporary, because I mean, our bodies, at least Jews think about it this way. This is why a lot of us don't get tattoos, is because our bodies are on loan from God. So it is temporary.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I always think.
I always say this too, and I know it pisses people off, and I know I really like. There's more to it. Like if you really dissected it, it's not a perfect thing. Like, but I always say like everyone's just the same soul living out different lifetimes in different bodies. You know, it's like
you know,
everyone's just like different fractalizations of the source, right? And we're just living out our time, and like Andrew says, we just go back eventually to the same thing that we once were, which is everything.
All
Everything
in
and nothing.
all, we are.
Yeah. Sorry if that was a little deep and heavy.
Turned to the stars, my friend. That is how it works. Nobody escapes that fate.
Actually, no. I'm not just gonna let this go. All right. What if everyone in the world came to these realizations? Right. What if wouldn't that fundamentally change how we behave and like react to each other as a species?
Andreas knows quite a bit about this, because the whole world has come to the same ideas at the same time before. Pyramids, for example, Andreas?
Yeah, there's a lot of synchronicity. Go ahead. Sorry.
Do you think there's some kind of universal thought?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mathematics is pretty much the universal language, and it's where we get to like real laws, you know. And I know that's like a weird idea, but what's his name? The vaccine guy, Noah Harari. No, the bald like scientist guy. Who's like, oh man, Harari, is that right, Dr. Harari?
Yeah, the whatever guy, the dude from Davos or whatever, he's down with Davos.
Yeah, Yuval Noah Harari. Dude. I did it. That's right, Yuval Harari. He said some interesting. He's an atheist Jew.
Christ, what's with his head?
Yeah, well, you know what?
Smart man.
Mega mind.
Probably a Caesarean. I don't know. I was one too. But he's a member of some of the organizations that I'm a member of, which is scary, right? Like the Transhumanist Plus.
FBI.
No. But the Transhumanist Plus, and he, you know, I remember I interviewed Wendy Shaw, Francine from American Dad, and at the end of our interview, I asked her, like, what are some books you like? Because I know her as a friend, and I know she likes to read a lot. And the book she was so fascinated with at the time, this was before, this is what, 2016, 17. She was like, I'm so fascinated by Noah Harari's book, Sapiens. That was her favorite book. She was super fascinated by it. And he had talked about natural laws. So he's like, when we say like a law of God, what do we mean? So if God tells you you're not supposed to be gay, is I'm going to use as an example. Well, you know, there are people that are gay. So how are they breaking God's law? You think God would be so powerful? He would just make it impossible to be gay.
It's not. It's the problem.
I think he is gay too.
God must be.
See, the problem is people conflate the two, where they say being gay is the same.
No, the dude.
it's the acting on it that's the sin. It's not the being gay itself.
Well,
It's the act.
you got a point. According to the Noahide says, do not commit adultery or sexual immorality, and that's commit. So it's not about having the thought, although people, Jesus said the thought is the same as the sin, but the Noahide doesn't say that. So,
bro, if I was to be in trouble for all my own thoughts, are you insane? You're going to judge me for my own thoughts?
No, man. If you have gay thoughts about me, I get it. You know what I mean? I understand.
Yeah, I don't
know, man. That picture of the Stargate with you on.
I also just want to interject.
Captain Carter, man. Got me
I have gay thoughts about myself. Look at me. I'm beautiful. Look at that. I have perfect. My tits are flawless. Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to say though, I know I was the one to bring up the 10 Commandments, but I mean, I only think about it like not that often. It's like if I say, oh, I have a quote unquote personal relationship with God, and then you were to ask me, well, what does God ask of you? What does God want you to do? And I say, I think God wants me to align myself in mind, body, and soul so they're not at war with each other. And I basically preach that at this point. I'm not telling you to be the strongest person, the smartest person, or the most emotionally stable person. What I am saying you should do is make it so your mind, body, and your soul are not at war with each other. So 100%. You're not doing anything physically that's fucking with your mental state or your emotions, or like you don't treat your soul as non-existent, because that's bad for your soul. Like, yeah, if you don't believe in it. If you don't believe in a soul, that'll fuck you up like really bad, I think.
Well, the problem is you don't believe in the soul for that moment, and then a couple years later you'll be like, I believe in a soul, and what have I done to mine? Is something that a lot of people go think about in the past. So
it was hard for me. I cried. Like they call it Jung called it what, like a dark night of the soul, and like that was when I was like going through that shit, and I was like, wow, that was but then I had a lot of love. I had a lot of sympathy for my past self. I was like, oh, I get it. You fucked up in those moments because you were doing this by yourself. You weren't there with the real me, and like now that I've awoken, now we could do this together. And
now that you think about it, you're not making the same decisions. That's what God wants. He wants you to realize your mistake and then not make that same mistake again. So you're directly on the right path.
Because like when I was making those bad decisions. Sorry, what were you saying?
Sorry, no problem. I think that the most important thing in my mind, anyways, is just that, like, yeah, it's good to be balanced and like have your alignment. That's definitely a good thing. But what I put at the top personally is that you put the highest things, or you could say God, first, right? Like that what you're pointing yourself towards, what you're aligning yourself towards, is always what is the highest good. It's like it's the goal anyways, to always strive for that. And I think that might be first. I think that might be why that's the first commandment, getting back to the 10 Commandments, goes into that. Which people
so then God told
say,
Abraham sorry.
About the 10 Commandments, like I understand that people look at it through a very like religious lens, but also like if you look at the reasons why that they're the 10 Commandments, and just like don't have that baggage of religion attached onto it, just the reasons why that they're the commandments, that like it was this thing that I heard the other day. It's not correct because God says so. God says so because it's correct. That's my thought on that.
But there's like, so the reason why I'm bringing up the Harari thing.
Yeah, but the question is, who's God?
Sure.
Right. People have different religions, so to say.
Right. I mean, that's why I tried to say like the highest good.
Well, Mormons and the Jews both kind of believe in the same sort of tetragrammaton around an Elohim plural.
Yeah,
but
I like that.
My point being with Harari. So he says that there's different kinds of laws. One is a law that they tell you what to do, and the other is one that God makes like the speed of light cannot be broken, kind of a thing. Or it's a bad example maybe, but it's closer to an objective thing that God has set as a physics reality that is, can you break that law? And it's really all about testing reality to find out what are the limits of reality, because those are the true laws. Right. Yeah, which is a very Jewish idea, I think.
I mean, I can't lie with you. I can't like lie about it. Like, yeah,
All right.
there's
So
we're raised to question. I mean, if people say, listen, I don't like being religious because I was told by a rabbi not to ask questions, then you had a shit rabbi, because there are so many other like rabbis out there that are like, oh, you want to ask this question? Okay, here's the answer. This is the question, and you can just keep on going. But if somebody tells you to not ask questions, that is not the way we do things. Ask why. Ask reasons.
Totally.
Ask intent, because it's the intent behind the action.
I mean, that's what sold me over to God, because God at the end is reasonable. God is a reasonable entity at the end of the day. Like it will give you like some kind of like logical, I think, completion in a sense, as far as like moral virtues go, you know, because then you can like look at things outside of yourself.
Now, this is the problem, though, because then you have people going to holy men saying that the holy man speaks for God, and then the holy man tells the person what to do.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's like I can't look. I believe in God, definitely. It's just I don't even know if I could trust the church. You know, I don't know if I could trust like these other entities, like middlemen between me and God, and also it's like the thing is like when I look at.
Do you think God cares about that though? At the end of the day,
but what matters to me,
between him and you, that's all that matters.
But what matters to me though is that, because you know, if I had a personal relationship with God, and I realized everyone ultimately has a personal relationship with God, then this is what allows me to say, since we're all the same soul living different lives in different bodies, I don't take things as personally anymore. You know, it's like, okay, so if you harm me, you're basically harming yourself. If I harm you, I'm basically harming myself. I mean, this is where I guess forgiveness comes into play, right? Like, if
I agree to an extent. I agree to an extent, because
I mean, this is why. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I said I agree to an extent, because if people are going after you, you can forgive them up to a certain point, because you can't just keep getting kicked in the. You like turn the other cheek. Okay, at what point do I strike back? You know what I'm saying? You have to.
No, I get that.
When you're about to die, for sure.
But this is where animal instinct will pretty much take over and run its course. You know, like it's not like our higher selves are going to be the ones to defend ourselves. No, our higher selves want just altruism. Our souls want to forgive. However, it's our animal bodies that are going to be like, no, we're not gonna stand for that. We're gonna pull out something.
I mean, yeah, think about it. Yeah. You know, there's a reason why that happened, right? When an animal, I don't know, let's say a lion attacks an elephant, and the elephant chucks it with its trunk like 40 feet. The lion's going to get back up and be like, well, I don't think I want to do that again.
Or it'll just come back with more lions.
Well, I mean, but this is like, I mean, this is with the beasts, but like, you know, when it comes like person to person, I mean, like it's really easy to hold grudges is basically what I'm saying. And grudges are not good for you. You know, like I'm looking at people and I'm like, I'm just saying, like,
protect your soul as well, right?
Yeah, but
because if you're holding a grudge, then like, what are you doing with your energy that you could be doing otherwise? Like, why would you allow somebody to like even have a hold over you to the point that you're wasting your time of your day? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I think
essentially you're possessed by that person if you're holding a grudge. Like, you are using your day and your energy of your day rather towards whatever is like your highest good for that day or what's going on around you. You're blinded. You're not seeing what's in front of you. You're not in the moment. And somebody, who cares what they did? It's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I also want to say there's a difference. No, there's a difference between self-defense and seeking revenge. Self-defense is really like, dude, it's you're gonna do it at that moment so you don't get harmed.
No, I was talking about grudges.
Yeah, because grudges is tied
grudges
to revenge,
are different, right?
Yeah,
because it depends on the grudge, right? If somebody has gone out of their way to harm your reputation and your name and the people around you, then you have zero responsibility to give them any sort of access to you whatsoever. People will say that's holding a grudge. No, that's holding my well-being ahead of somebody else's who was acting.
No, that's totally fair. You're just cutting somebody out of your life that's damaging to you. Like, that's totally your prerogative, right?
Yep.
Like,
but do you not see how people can say that's a grudge, or people can say that's the wrong way to do it?
I think you could act that sort of thing out without even feeling angry about it. You just be like, no, this is a completely mechanical process. You are like.
I think mostly only sociopaths have that attitude. Like, if somebody's damaging you and they've already proven to be untrustworthy around you, like, you don't just be their best friend because you forgive them, right? Like, you don't hold that grudge against them, you don't hold that energy towards them, but you're at no obligation to like go and like grovel at their feet, so to speak.
Yeah, you can set a boundary without harboring resentment, I think. I mean,
Yeah,
I've done
Okay,
it.
I mean,
Right,
this
and
is
and
a
move
good-
on with
this
your
is-
life. But
This is a good
you say,
conversation.
"Get
to
away
have,
from
because
me."
People can conflate the two. So me asking this question a little deeper
Totally.
gets into the meat of it, because you know people will use the argument where you're like, well, I don't like this guy because of this, this, and that, and people say, oh, you're holding a grudge. That's not good for you. You're like, no, it's I'm just protecting myself. I don't want to deal with anything. I mean, I completely understand.
I agree that you'll never get over a grudge just by saying you're holding a grudge. You should just let it go. No, there's definitely something really deep, and you could even call it a demon. You know, you could like metamorphosize it into like a demonic projection. Yeah, I mean, this shit could take over your life, and it's like, what force is there that's powerful enough to like really wipe that away? And it's not vengeance, and it's not the law, and it's not like culture. Like, none of these things cut it. It's usually like something like God, forgiveness, or something, you know, something divine. Acceptance, something like higher of your like of a higher frequency, I would say.
Yeah,
and
I think
it's just interesting.
I went through. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, God mind seems to exist at the intersection of logic and intuition. You know, that sort of synthesis of the masculine and feminine sort of leanings.
Yeah.
Because you can't really like think your way into right acting as easily as you can act your way into right thinking. There's just kind of like this.
I mean, the hardest part is it's also like I mean, I also hear this from my AA friend. He's like, it's responsibility. Like, a lot of times, like, we would be in our meetings, and one person would talk about when they relapse, and they would just end up like saying like, oh, if only my boyfriend didn't make this stupid decision and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but what did you do before that? You agreed to go with him, right? And she was like, yeah. And then he goes, there you go. See, it's like, it's the responsibility part where you realize, I didn't have to do that part, you know, like I could have seen that coming at that moment in time, and you could learn from it if you just admit you fucked up.
So,
you know,
here's the trip about the grudge thing that I was thinking about, is that, yes, like, to cut somebody off and not allow them like into your life anymore because like they've already caused problems or whatever, but there may be times when life forces that person somehow back into your life. And then what do you do then when you can't really help it? You can't, like, you're not really given the ability to comfortably say, like, you need to go away. Like, maybe, you see what I'm saying? And so what do you do then?
Deal with the situation as cordially as possible, and then remove yourself from that situation.
I'll be right back.
That is my solution. If you're around somebody that you have no option to interact with, don't make it weird for everybody around you. Be cordial, be normal, and then remove yourself from the situation, because you know the situation is going to go south at some point, and you don't want to be there for that, do you?
Right.
Yeah. I think it's okay to guardedly kind of reallow somebody a tentative chance to prove themselves if they appear humble, though, too.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm like my dad. When
knows?
you burn me
That's
once,
a good question.
you don't get another chance. I'm not letting you burn my arm off again.
Yeah, I mean,
sure, there could be a degree.
Again,
yeah,
but there's a step, I believe it is the 9th step, if I'm not mistaken, where you make amends, but there is a caveat: except when to do so would injure them or others, and that includes self-injury. So you can make a living amends to someone. You don't have to make an active amends to someone who's hurt you, even, or someone that you've hurt, if doing that is going to endanger either one of you.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I've never been to AA, and there have been many times in my life where I said to myself, I should probably go to AA, but every AA meeting was in a church. So I felt
I mean, the problem, we know what they're gonna do. We know their material. We know their
and snacks.
We know there's
one day.
There are certain people in my life that if I were to be interacting with them again, it would be a danger to myself and them. Totally. Like, wouldn't want to do it. Like, there's just people that have screwed up so bad that I don't hold any ill will towards them, but I don't know if I could remain that way if I had to be forced to be around them, like to be completely real.
Word.
Just
Yeah, you shouldn't. I don't know why people want to. There's just a lot of people. You know what I mean? It's not like there's like 6 people. There's like 8.5 billion. Maybe it's a lie, but I just everywhere I go, I meet new people. It's really hard to imagine like holding on to people that aren't awesome because they're just, you know what I mean? You get a Chris, you keep a Chris. You get rid of all the rest of them. No offense, you guys. I'm just kidding.
Well, I just think when it comes to specific things like alcoholism, like it's a very tricky one. I mean, it's definitely linked to spirituality, but it's like so multidimensional, specifically triple faceted, right? You got your physical addiction where it's like your body, literally craves it. You could not think about it. You could not feel any type of way about it, but maybe you just inherited the gene that just craves booze. And then there's the mental addiction where it's like, you're just fucking thinking about it. You don't even have to physically crave it. Like you could just think about it all the time. And then there's the spiritual malady, which drives you to drink. And that's the trickiest one because science doesn't account for that. Medicine doesn't account for that. And that's where it gets really fucked up because then if you have one unknown factor of the 3 or unstudied generally, and then you get a combination of the 2, like if you're both physically and mentally addicted or mentally and spiritually addicted, that's like, it's super fucked up.
Well, the founders of AA were heavy into young. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was totally. I appreciate the people who actually go to AA and talk about their experience and say, like, listen, I was an alcoholic, but you know, I am an alcoholic and I'm working on it. Then, you know, somebody who's like, well, I'm just drinking all the time. I'm not alcoholic. I'm fine. But, you know, it takes a lot of strength to say, okay, listen, I have a problem. I need to find a way to get it taken care of and then actively going to do that. Because
it's a big thing with AA. Once they
do anything, it's good. It's useless.
AA started out as when I first heard about it, I'm like, that sounds like a terrible idea. You know, a group that's obsessed with quitting. Like, I mean, this was the old joke, like quitting's for quitters kind of thing. But also because to me, it's like you want to get in a group that's about what you do after you quit. Like it should be one step is you quit. Step 2 is you find a boat race in the park or some extracurricular activities and everyone signs up to find something to do with their time, right? You want a group of people that you do other things than drink with. However, that's when I started looking into it. I was like, oh, AA used to be that. It was like psychedelic philosopher research in coffee shops by people that had quit drinking and realized by taking LSD, Bill Wilson realized, wow, like this is the solution. And when I found out that they didn't like Bill Wilson or LSD anymore, that was when I realized I'm never going to be part of
Well,
AA.
I just want to add to that. My friend who's in AA also tells me there's offshoots. They have like splinter groups. You know, there's like the bigger AA meetings with their strict
Not
doctrines.
to be confused though with like Narconon or Al-Anon, which are
no. This is specifically about AA, but they take it to the extent where they like try to integrate like cannabis use. You know, they'd be like, yeah, weed really does fucking help me. You know, but they can't do that in traditional standard AA. But then they'd also do like, you know, they get into meditation AA, or they'd be like a Christian offshoot of AA, and they get into like a Bible readings, Bible studies, and
but you know Narconon, you know what Narconon is, right?
It's for people who are affected by addicts.
No, that's Al-Anon. Al-Anon is Narconon is the Scientology controlled anti-drug group.
Sorry, I don't tell if it's helping people, it's helping people. But I every time
Scientology helping people, and now you want me not to laugh? I'm just kidding. No, I think Scientology. I unironically had an argument today that basically I made the argument today that psychology is basically destroying lives, and Scientology is the only hope. Like I'll get
is fucking dog shit, man.
Yeah, but so Narconon, what they realized was that they could get people that had a serious addiction. They could mind wash them, give them a new life skill, and then boom, these former drug addicts were super powerful, high performing, higher OT3, right? OT2 or 3 at least. I don't know if you KSW, if you keep your Scientology working. Like
it sounds like some wizardry. Is that wizardry or is it something
Scientology is kind of like wizardry.
They're into alchemy too. You know their detox blend.
Oh yeah, the what's it called? Something 6 or something like. They have like a number one, right? They also do a thing. They also do a thing where they like cleaned for COVID. They had like some weird cleaning stuff. Like the Scientologists are like, give them all the crap you want. They're way more interesting than you're giving them credit. Like Scientologists are doing some interesting stuff. And in the 40s and 50s, when Dianetics was happening, for the first time, you had e-meters, which are the lie detector test, telling you like when you have some sort of response. Like, oh, when you said the word, it's not like a lie. It's more like, because that's what people say. Like a lie detector doesn't actually work to tell you if you're lying. It just gives you a little bump if you have a feeling. So it's like, oh, it's interesting. You had a feeling when we mentioned cigars. Tell me your first experience with cigars. Oh, my uncle got in trouble, got caught smoking. And now for the rest of my life, I think that cigars are going to, the drugs will kill me, or something like. You can see that there are a lot of people that have serious ingrained memory, pathological trauma where they don't know how to process something that happened to them as a child. They store it. It's frozen forever. And now when they hear the word cigar, they,
that just makes me understand a scene from Ocean's 11 when he had to pass a lie detector test. So they put like a little a thumbtack in his shoe. So he stepped on it every time he has to answer a question. Okay, so every time he answers a baseline question, you can make it spike. So when he lies, it'll be the same spike. I get it. All right.
Yeah, but they do the other way around. Dianetics is to teach you how to like figure out what all those things are. Go back and rethink your memories of those things until you understand why you have reactions to things. It's the opposite of Freudian analysis. You're not worrying about the subconscious. You're using consciousness to overpower your subconscious and to look through your subconscious, because you can access all these things very logically using your conscious. And you can find out how many things are buried in your subconscious, and you can force it out. And this is like an exorcism. It's a scientific.
I'll be honest with you. If it's buried down that deep, I ain't digging that shit out. There's a reason.
I don't blame you.
No, it's really not. No, you don't have to dig that deep though. Let's say this, right? You can observe your own thoughts, correct? Like you guys, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
So who's observing those thoughts? Who's doing the observing?
You were both the observer and the creator.
Okay. All right. I mean, at least but you're not your thoughts. You could say like you're something other than.
No, dude. Like I'm not my thoughts. Like I'm not even my impulsive thoughts. Like you can control your actions. It's not that difficult. Your brain is yes connected to your body, but you can say, "Hey, don't touch the hot pot."
Also, your emotions too. You could observe your emotions, so you can't say your emotions either, because you could literally just observe them as they come. Like, yeah,
so you're saying what is the self? Is what you're saying? Or is what you're asking? What is the self?
No, I was just basically saying, like, you don't have to dig that hard. It's not that hard to reach that kind of state of inquiry where you're like getting to the juicy bits to like get to that point to answer such questions.
Well, and I think is good too when you have these conversations with other people in an environment that I hate to say safe environment, but like a safer environment than you would if you were like
safe space.
Like Risk, you said you have Jewish employers.
Yeah.
When you have a question about Judaism, who do you go to?
My boss.
Exactly. So you have to like know who to talk to about these things and about the different subjects. Like we all have our own friends and we all have different conversations with them. I'm sure you have certain conversations with certain friends that you wouldn't have with others. But this is why it's so important to surround yourself with so many different people and so many different thoughts, because it will help you in the long run in the future, not because you should think that way, but because you understand how the thoughts are being processed and you can create a proper way of thinking. First principles, for example, it's a big thing right now, but people really should be looking into them.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like on a very interpersonal level for me. Like when I learn about these insights from like, especially like, cultures like the Orthodox Jewish people like that I work around, and also like, people like Andreas or other people like from my martial arts schools and all that stuff. Like, it's really just trying to like meet them where they're at. But I guess because maybe it's just by virtue of where I live. Because growing up in New York City, you see like you're from New York too, right?
Who?
Are you Superman?
Oh no, I was born in LA, but I lived in Israel for many years.
So LA is kind of like not that different, but yeah, like growing up in New York City, you're really forced to integrate, you know, especially if you're born there. There's no other choice. You didn't move into this place and then you get to complain about it. You're like, oh, it's so much better back home. No, it's like, this is my home. This chaotic soup, weird salad bowl mix, like that's who I am, basically. Like that's where I came from. So that allowed me to get into, well, it forced me into situations where I end up working for like an Orthodox Jewish company for like 10 plus years. And I got, you know, I've been to like Shabbos dinners with them, and I've been to the best kosher restaurants in, like, Reserve Cut is a spot in Manhattan that is insane. Like, you know, you'll have like crazy steaks, and I learned a lot about kosher food, and like I had to, you know, work around
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I worked in the kosher restaurant industry for years, so I know the exact moment.
I was like, I want a cheeseburger, god damn it, and they can't give it to me, and it's like, all right.
One day they change rules. You can't put this next to that, and then the next day they change it back, and you're like, bro, I don't know what the hell you
It's
want.
opposite Thursday, don't you know? But if you you want a cheeseburger, you can. You just need to use the vegan cashew cheese. They just can't use like an actual lactose dairy.
You can't use it.
Also,
Why?
really?
Why you shouldn't? Because people will say that the perception is that you are eating meat with milk, and if other Jews see you do that, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
They will sin because they see you eating the fake cheese, but it looks like real cheese on the cheeseburger, and they will assume.
Yeah, but what if you're trend setting because you make it clear, like I'm eating cashew butter?
It's like masturbating being a sin for the Christians, you know?
We need to get like 6 rabbis to duke it out over this one. This is like a serious. This is like the 164th pork soup kind of thing.
And honestly, you're gonna think this is strange. I don't think it is, but there's a lot of, and especially in New York, there's a lot of overlap with Jewish culture and Italian culture. There's a lot of it, like Italian Jews. Like I have a lot of friends.
Why we don't get along more.
I mean, I have like a lot of friends, like especially where I spent a lot of my childhood in New York City, which is Staten Island, where like Pete Davidson is from. It's like he's like a perfect example. You know, there's a lot of Pete Davidsons, like Italian Jews, you know. They're cool people. I smoked weed with them growing up in high school and stuff, you know.
Of course.
Yeah. They talked about, I mean, we were like in middle school and they talked about things like with us that no middle schooler should be talking. Like we were like children. We were talking about like pussy and like and women and such like fucked up. But it's you know, it was like that's what it was. And I don't know, I guess like that was just an interesting.
Hey, RGZ, just so you know, according to Jewish religion, you are Jewish, my friend. Congratulations.
Nice work.
Isn't that wild how like the Jewiness is passed down only on the mom's side, like more?
Yeah, but the priestly
makes more and more sense. Yeah, there's rules to this, and also there's like if you start to look into mitochondrial DNA, you're like, oh, it's like Jews just knew about DNA or something for like thousands of years. It's pretty impressive, actually. I don't know. Yeah. Well, we talked about
Jews are awesome. I love those people.
Italian is generally kind of fun, you know. I like Italian people. I like Italians. What about okay? We talked about Jews. You guys want to talk about Nazis? Let's talk about Nazis. Here's a Nazi.
Oh man, he's a Roman.
It was the Roman salute number one. It wasn't even a Roman salute. He got excited. He's autistic.
No, that's
he
not
got excited. Give the
kid he has Asperger's.
No, dude, the jig is up. The jig is up. The secret Nazi, dude. Like we just need to come out of the closet now. Elon has revealed us.
Well, no, now Ocasio-Cortez is a Nazi, right? Wait, no. Superman's a Nazi too.
Bro, oh my God. It feels like to get canceled, bro. This hurts.
Dude, it's crazy.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Don't forget about him.
He's not a Nazi. He was just grabbing.
No, we got to see this in slow motion.
He wants you all to have love, you know. I don't. So I thought this was weird.
He's a lovable spaz.
He's terrible. It's a hate crime. German museums are removing Elon Musk portraits because you can't have in Germany Nazis. No,
unbelievable.
No. Yeah,
check out the private chat. I dropped a video of a mother having a video with her autistic son doing the exact same thing.
Oh my God, a Jewish autistic Nazi 6-year-old? When does it stop, Superman? When does it stop?
I mean, it's horrible. Like,
wait, can I ask everyone?
Oh no, this kid's going to trouble.
Can I ask but if you look at his hand is oriented vertically. His hand is oriented vertically, so it's
yeah. I gotta ask you: have you guys all
like this?
Have we all had difference. We've all had to say the
no
before, right? In school. All of us.
Right.
The Pledge
Yeah.
of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do they
dude.
still do that? Didn't they stop doing that? or something?
They stopped
I'm
doing that
not
during
sure. They stopped doing that probably
during
when I was
the what's it called? Hey, Black
15,
Eye is joining us. What's up, Black Eye? Hopefully your stuff loads. It's good to see you if you show up. They made me do it in school, and then I remember hearing they stopped making people do the Pledge of Allegiance in like 2012, something like that, 2016. So Black Eye, how's it going?
Hello, Black Eye.
He's made some solid memes about us in the past. I just wanted to give him a shot. He's driving though. I don't know how his signal's going to work.
Reception is. Yeah, if you're driving, I highly recommend you just turn off your cam because it makes the connection better.
That might
I
be
do that sometimes when I drive too.
That might be the solution. What's up, bro? How's it going? Good to see you. Well, okay, let's go back a second. So basically, we where'd I go? I had a whole thing about this open. Did I close it already? Balami salute. Let's go back to here. Okay. So American children once saluted the flag. One nation, indivisible. This is the way Americans. Do you know this, Superman? You know this, right? That Americans used to
because before the 1930s, 1940s, it was
or 1942.
Yeah, I mean, it was just
powerful.
considered a Roman salute or like a patriotic thing. It was never intended to be used in the way it's being used, but the Nazis took it over, and just like the swastika, they ruined the reputation for the
How did Germans how are they so terrible at using fashion culture?
Wait,
that
can I ask something?
Germans destroy bell bottoms too? Like what else did Germans destroy?
Wait, no, I also want to ask, didn't the Nazis also just do a regular salute? How come we didn't stop doing
Some
that
of them
too?
did, yeah. Back and forth.
There's a big difference for a lot of things. Let's bring up hold on. There you go. What's up, Black Eye? You hearing it? Maybe you might want to use no camera and just have sound. Because if you're driving, sometimes the signal's pretty low. But if you can hear us, we're talking about the Bellamy salute. Here's the deal. Bellamy was okay. We don't know for sure that the Romans even ever
Those
did this.
Nazi kids.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence that there's a black one, an Indian one, a Chinese one, a blonde one, a brunette one, an Italian one.
Kids.
Every single, it's just like it's like woke Nazism, woke right as we call it, where it's all inclusive fascism, where everyone's fascist together. Does that make it okay? I don't know. But
If
the
it's for
point is that
There's nothing wrong with socialism or nationalism, right?
well, it's a good question because let's start with
I don't know.
Who created this
Don't
salute?
ask me.
Who created this salute? Well, Francis Bellamy was a Christian
What a handsome
socialist.
man. Look at that nose. That's a Roman nose.
You know what? Takes one to know one. I just feel like Christian socialism is something that we should look into a bit because the idea that Christianity, that Jesus was some sort of a socialist, and he's trying to make the world a better place through social love or whatever. This was a huge thing, the Christian Labor Party. And the idea that Bellamy invented the Roman salute isn't quite accurate, but we don't know that the Romans ever actually did it. We just know that in the 1870s, everyone was thinking about, for the Chicago World Fair in 1888, they wanted 1893. They wanted to make sure that we had a Romanesque American ideology. And so they kind of created this thing that Shakespeare talked about for Julius Caesar. They kind of created the Roman salute. But we don't know that the Romans ever did that. We just know that it was brought back to fashion.
That's what it's called, and that's what people know it is as colloquially, right?
Can we come up with a new thing instead of for a nation? Can we be like fascists or nationalists for God? Like, can we just become like God?
That's literally Christian socialism. So actually, social utopianism, I think, is another way you could say.
I mean, isn't that for
socialism.
Jesus, not for God? That's different. I'm talking
Utopian socialism is a lot more vague. Utopian socialism doesn't have to be just for Jesus, but really, Joseph Smith's Mormonism was a kind of utopian social Christianity. Robert Owen, though, similarly, he was not a religious person. He just thought, hey, if you fed all your workers and kept them healthy, they won't have any sick days. And he kind of invented Marxism before Marxism.
But before we get too far, would you mind looking up the meaning of the name Bellamy? My youngest kid's name is Bellamy, and I would just love for you to look at the meaning of that name real quick.
All right, your youngest is named Bellamy, really? So it means Bel-Ami.
So that means you're a Nazi.
Well, yeah, aren't communists or Nazis, right? Isn't that what they're saying?
So you're saying beautiful friend, handsome friend, or what?
Yeah,
Or
like
what
a good friend, I thought was the meaning that I took from it. But yeah, sure, you know, it's about being a warm companion, you know. So it's a warm companion salute.
I can't think of anything warmer than a classroom full of multiracial children zig heiling the American flag. That's
Well, that was a rebranding, you know.
Why can't we
Hitler
say,
did
why
a lot
can't we
of really
Zig Heil
gross
for God?
rebranding.
Why can't we say Zig
Those
Heil
disgusting
God?
little kids.
so the thing is that they're not actually doing. There's a difference, and this is the main change: is that in the Bellamy salute, you start like Can we go back to Elon Musk for a second? Do I have a picture of him anywhere still? Oh, there's so many horrible things I have open instead. I don't know where I can find it. Let's just do Elon Nazi because I'm pretty sure that's all it takes these days. I'm pretty sure if I just
do me a favor.
Elon,
Do me a favor. Hide your DMs for right now, please.
oh, can you see my DMs? What's happening? What?
No, I just see a message open, and I sent you something very risky about a minute and a half ago. So if you would have opened, you would have been fucked.
I just
It's
want to
all
say
right.
for
Well,
the
I wish you
record,
hadn't told me
the
that.
whole,
'Cause I could have said I accidentally found that, but now
the whole
people know.
Roman salute looks like an eagle lifting out its wing, showing golden angelic dust upon the masses.
How? See, what a sweet way to look at it. All right. Well, here's the deal, though. It's not the same. So when the Nazis do it, I can't even do it because it's illegal here, which is hilarious.
So,
hey,
Andreas, is the reason why your feed is full of Nazi salutes because of where you're located right now, or is it just because of what's trending?
Both. Actually, Austria is a little funnier than Germany on that. I don't know if I should discuss, but with but the point is that this salute, he's got his hand over his heart and he puts it out. Okay, that's the difference. It's very different. The Germans don't do it that way. They don't do it at all anymore. But when they did it, they did it straight ahead from the head. They have the hand come out from the head, not this heart, not like you're throwing a frisbee. See,
it's like martial arts, It's very
Well, it started off with kind of like a retard hand a little bit, and then it's like they're just giving their retardation to the world.
No, I heard an audible thump on his chest, and then
no, that was him going. He was grunting it. He was doing it with his whole fucking shit. Yeah, dude. Look at the video again. You can hear him grunting. He's like biting his lip. He's loving it. He's
having a little bit of emotion.
Yeah,
my heart goes out to you.
I just remember as a little kid, I had to like
social filter.
I just miss as a little kid like spending like at least like a minute every morning feeling my own heartbeat with my hand and reciting this ritual of allegiance. I think that brainwashed me because like I do love America. As a grown ass adult, I haven't said the Pledge of Allegiance in years, but I think after years as a kid, like reciting that pledge, like I am now a full-blown patriot. I fucking love the country I was born in.
It's like the Nicene Creed. I think that's the deal. They were looking for an alternative to the Catholic Nicene Creed. They came up with the Pledge of Allegiance because they thought pledging to your nation state and nationalism was a relatively new idea. It had been around maybe since the 1815 period. You could say Napoleon in a sense. I think Napoleon really is responsible for nationalism. There's a good YouTube episode Johnny Harris did on that.
I won't even lie. It doesn't matter what national anthem I'm singing because I got two. I will tear up for both of them because I'm just as patriotic for each.
Yeah.
But didn't they come up with the Pledge of Allegiance in order to sell more flags to the schools? It had something to do with like some contractor found a way to sell flags to schools.
I think it's a little bit more deep than that. So it starts really with the Kingdom of France. So the Kingdom of France, I know it sounds like I'm going way far back, but just hear me out. So at one point, when you thought about the Kingdom of France, you would have thought about who? You're talking about Charles or you're talking about Macron. Like, no, at some point, France was thousands of different little villages that all spoke different languages. In fact, most people didn't speak French in France. More people spoke French in what we call now Germany. And more people spoke German in France than today what we now think that, the amount of Turks in Germany, basically. And so you start to realize that these places were far more broken up and quilted than they ever were told. And if a king were to tax your village, you wouldn't necessarily speak the same language as that king. You wouldn't care what that king's flag looked like. You wouldn't consider yourself part of the nation of that king. You kind of find that king to be a nuisance, right? And if that king sold you or your town to another king because of some battle or something like that, you wouldn't care to change your nation to this new king. You wouldn't be speaking the new king's language. And so people got passed around like, Jenny from the block. It was just not a great thing to be a serf underneath nobility at that time. And then you've got this dude from Corsica who shows up, and he's not from France, right? But he's like, hey, we need a idea of France, this kingdom of France or this county of Flanders or whatever we've kind of built. We should really kind of expand this idea and say, you guys, you're all actually really similar to each other. You know what? You're all French. And this is, people were speaking English in France. French people, like English people were speaking French in England. Like, it's really, really convoluted until all of a sudden they say, you know what? You really want to identify yourself as Napoleon. Same thing with China. Like, China is the greatest example. There were 300 ethnicities. There's like 50 languages left in China today, and to pretend that they all speak Mandarin. I was just listening to a girl speak Cantonese on a corner a few hours ago, and you could there's never going to just be one kind of Han Mandarin Chinese person.
Wait,
I hope. Genocide's real.
Andreas, how many Chinese Christians do you know? I feel like that's like really powerful. If you have like the Chinese bug hive mind powers with the power of Christ backing you, like,
I tell you what, though, I've known a lot of Korean Christians.
Yeah, Korean Christians are pretty powerful. So imagine Chinese Christians. They must be.
I also knew a bunch of Moonies, like the Korean church that made everyone get married, the Christian church. So I knew this guy in New Mexico. I knew a guy and a gal who'd been married at 14 by the church, forced by their parents, raised in the church. And they're not Moonies anymore. But like when you're married that long and you're part of, it's like there's no way out. Like they're programmed as deep as anyone else is programmed by anything. And this dude, he's a redhead. He's like 6'2". And every morning about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, I would see him get up, walk around with his hand behind his back and a book in his hand. And I think it's the Bible. I don't know what book.
What a gangster.
Dude, every day. And he's walking around until a little after sunrise, reading this book with his hand behind his back.
So fucking Asian, bro.
It is. You can't. Koreans did something to this poor redhead kid, and like his rest of his life is never going to be un-Korean. It's like that.
We all could stand to have our life be a little bit more organized.
We could be a bit more Korean as a people. I strongly feel this way. So 1838, they start realizing 1850s, 1860s, they're going to have Napoleonic citizenship, national symbols, mass conscription, and to say, well, you're all part of the military. There's a reason why you become a nation. And these railways and things, that means especially that you're going to bring people together that have never seen each other before. Because usually you live in your village, you never leave your village. 99% of people never left their village, right? So this is 1870, right? 1870. This is about the time that the United States, 1880s, when Bellamy creates the American Pledge of Allegiance. So we're very strongly influenced by this new wave nationalism that only happened in the 1776. America is still a quilt. America, each state has its own governor. There's no George Washington isn't really the president of until 1791. Like the whole idea of creating a nation, that's a pretty new idea, right? But once you get into nationalism, then all of a sudden you're like, well, we need to build a religion around it. We have the God. And then they start creating.
We have to at least incorporate religion. Like even in the pledge, they say under God, one nation under God, indivisible. With liberty.
You know what's funny, right? That was the trade. They took away the Zig Heil and they added under God. Put your hand on your heart. It used to be one nation indivisible with liberty and justice for all. 42, they add one nation under God. But that wasn't in the original. It wasn't in there for decades, right? Like for 50, 60 years, there was no under God. However, they did believe in a different God, right? They have, if you look at the money in America didn't have pictures of presidents; it had pictures of goddesses, right? Like Columbia, and so things were very different.
Interesting. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like God gives you power. God gives you energy. That's my homie right there.
Pick a struggle. Is that a Mein Kampf joke? I don't know for sure.
Jesus.
That's the one that's too far. I took it too far.
I can't believe you brought that up. Sorry.
I don't know. I'm in Germany, baby.
I can't believe you brought that up. Sorry.
A little too, read a little too deep into it. I'm sorry. I didn't feel like it
This
was
guy, dude.
Listen, no,
He's really going.
No, come on. Let's not take reality for granted. Like we literally live in crazy times. Like I mean, who would have thought?
Ribs hurt now.
I mean, we literally like who would have thought Donald Trump would become president, then not be president, then become president again? Like that.
Oh my god! Because the next subject was QAnon. I'm so
Wait, hold on.
Segue.
Can he run for a third term? Like, is it 2 consecutive terms or 2?
Oh,
fuck off.
sorry.
It's 2 altogether, I believe.
No, if that's the case, then Obama would come back and say, "I'm going to run for president," and it's like, "Yeah, let's vote for Obama
it's
again."
2 total, right? Not 2 consecutive.
Let's do.
I believe so.
Let's do the QAnon conspiracy then, if we're gonna go that far. Okay, so if you guys remember, if you're just tuning in for the first time since 2020, there used to be a group of moms across America that had this belief that Trump was Batman and that he was secretly writing these tweets from an account that was anonymized called Q. And this is why you don't say QAnon, right? It's Q. Q is real. QAnon is what we're referring to.
Anybody who says like QAnon, I'm like, oh, all right, bud.
Yeah, it's the honeypot.
Aliens and adrenochrome. They're harvesting adrenochrome.
Well, so like plot twist, the idea that Melania over here is QAnon. She's Q. She's the actual. She might be Q. All right.
No, it's Barron. It's Barron, idiot.
Yeah, but Barron was so young, unless he's the time traveler. So
he's the time traveler Baron. Look how big he got.
Time travel Baron could be the thing. All right. Well, what was the deal with the conspiracy? There's 2 conspiracies happening. There's QAnon and there's BlueAnon. So the QAnon conspiracy was that human trafficking, satanic pedophiles are, drinking your children's adrenochrome, and that we're gonna get them. There's a war on. And they told people. They said, pack your stuff, get some food, put it in your house. Just be ready for anything. Be ready to just shut down society in case we need to go to war. About a year before COVID, right? Which was kind of an interesting sync, and enough people thought, hey, COVID must be part of this human trafficking war. We were told, keep our food inside, be ready for anything. We're going to shut down society, kind of like clockwork. Maybe there's something to it. And then they were told, trust the plan, trust the plan. October, be ready for, the election. Trump's going to win again in 2020. And when he didn't, officially win, and he says the election's stolen, all these things, January 6th happens. And that's why even today we're talking about it years later, that there's this, hostage, release and everything. Having said that, the entire media, I don't know if I'm right when I say this, but it feels like the entire media relationship with the intelligence has shifted. Trump is far more front and center and socially acceptable by the media than he was bizarrely, like, the hate on Trump was turned way too high in the past, and it's been turned way too low down, as far as I can tell, in the immediate present. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe there are.
A lot of people are patiently waiting, right? A lot of people know that Trump isn't the end all be all. Their hope, they just know that hope is here.
Well,
so I think that's why people are not as vocal as they were, Andreas, because they're looking at it with tentative hesitation, because they remember what happened last time, and they remember the fact that Trump knows he screwed up. So what they're paying attention to what he does now to, make sure everything's going to go the right way. I say, before calling any wins, wait at least 6 months.
Well, that's always
all I know is that ever since that Trump has become president, since 2016, we've had Epstein and Diddy arrested, and so it kind of, to me,
what else did you say?
Is a little bit of a plot thickens. It doesn't seem like a coincidence necessarily.
And what's a couple more? So the other one was that Q said all sorts of these celebrity politicians, if they were to die or they were to be removed so publicly, that would destroy the pensions of Americans, because if the stock drops, the money for the pensions of Americans was held in stock. So you had to be very careful because it would have destroyed the lives of all of these American citizens if their money is held by these pedophiles that are being removed, hypothetically, right?
Well,
so there would have to have been a secret war and a removal and then a new elite. And who are the remaining elite, right? Because you have just like 4 billionaires sitting behind Trump this term, which are Elon Musk, Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. I feel like I'm missing one, but I know that Larry or Ellison is there. There's something interesting to me about all of these people being replaced in the last 4 to 6, 7 years. How many people said they're stepping down for health reasons so they can take time to focus on their family? It just seems a little weird. And what was the big conspiracy that non-Q people believed? They said, well, Biden has a secret president running over him, right?
Well,
there was a huge thing that Obama was secretly the president behind Biden. Remember, do you remember this? This was a huge thing. Everyone's saying that, it must be that Biden's not really the president. He doesn't really know what's going on. He's just standing in there.
Well, what did he have? Ever since he stepped down, what did he even do? Nobody saw him. Who was running things? Like, he didn't even show up. I'm just saying, it was kind of weird. Like
actually,
nobody really seemed to talk about it, but he was nowhere to be seen after he stepped down. Like, who was running things, dude?
Biden was doing nothing until Trump was elected again. And then all of a sudden, for the last month, it was like December and January.
Sure got a lot done in the last few days.
I got more data from the White House Facebook page. It was just every freaking day after the election. Every day it was Biden's doing this, Biden's doing that, Biden's going here, Biden's giving an award to these people. It's like, dude, nobody wants to hear from you, but also, why are you awake? Like, you were gone for the last 4 years, and now all of a sudden the other guy gets elected and you're just posting and doing and pardoning not just your family or your son, but the entire January 6th inquiry group. This is what. And then Fauci, even the left were saying wow, this is embarrassing because it insinuates that Fauci did something that would need to be pardoned, right?
Did you guys see? I got something in there. This also plot thickens a little bit. Is that on election night or the day before election night, when everybody was voting, Elon posted he posted a video that was really well put together, but it flashed on the screen Patriots, and then Patriot, the O was a Q, and it went from Patriot to a Q for like 10 seconds and just sat there with a Q. And also, not only that, but if you want to tie it into the whole Trump time traveler conspiracy thing, that same video had a bunch of time travel and what was it, that movie Back to the Future 2 clips in it, which was a trip. So it was a troll, probably.
Well, there's a lot there with the JFK thing too, because the Back to the Future, the entire Hill Valley is in the Jeep.
I just want to say one thing. Like, when it comes to the whole QAnon stuff, they like to wax a lot of shit about intelligence agencies like the CIA. Can we just admit, since Bush Sr.'s death, nothing, real intelligence just dig deeper and deeper into further more obscure agencies that the CIA is just a movie prop at this point. When we talk about CIA, what the fuck is the CIA even really do? They're too public. They don't do anything probably that really matters. It's probably DIA and something even more obscure than the DIA. It's probably even shit that we probably never heard of.
There's tons of different splintered cells. You got guys in the CIA undercover investigating each other and stuff. There's above top secret, there's below black budget, and same goes for Department
and there's
of
a private sector. Who the fuck knows what the private sector can serve as a smokescreen for? Something
exactly
way deeper than the CIA could ever be.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a big thing too with the January 6th hostages. You're seeing all these people that were
I don't know why you go to McDonald's.
There's some to all these symbols. Symbols will be their downfall. This idea that there's all of these secret agents that were arrested because of January 6th on purpose so they could infiltrate the Green Guard, right? The Green Guard being the fraternal order of police adjacent fraternity of secret society of prison guards, right? Because the prison guards are their own secret society as well. And the level of corruption in DC, where you're talking about, I mean, if Epstein had a good time in jail, you can only imagine what certain kinds of billionaires are doing or certain mafiosos have been doing in jail. There's a lot to be questioned about who was an agent for BLM or for Q or whatever, that were all thrown into this mess, you know, for January 6th. But also, go ahead.
I was gonna say, wasn't BLM alleged to have been like a smokescreen for some nefarious things that the Bureau of Land Management was up to? Because if you look at like the network of caves and stuff, I think you may have brought this up on the show before, and like the amount of missing people and the whole underground network being used for trafficking and you know, and other things.
Yeah, that's definitely what's going on. And then there was a new video that just came out. I was trying to find that James O'Keefe, remember James put out this video. A woman went on a blind date with the CIA officer, and you know, he's like showing his national security badge and everything to her, and she's basically, you know, his job is saying that they're keeping as much as they can from Trump, right? And so this was the big laughing thing. Like, we all hate Trump, so we're gonna keep secrets from him until he's out of power. Relax, it's all taken care of. We're just gonna bide time and do as little work as possible, and then in 4 years he'll be gone. We're gonna get back in, and we'll do all these things. So on one hand, you have this sort of Q Blue Anon story, and it's not that Biden was, you know, working for Obama. It's that Biden was working for Trump. This is the blue Q conspiracy. That, and if you remember when Trump lost, it was this weird thing where like the January 20th, 2021 didn't feel like a normal inauguration. It didn't have the right music. Everything was all weird, and Biden was
he didn't ride in the right, like they didn't do any, like there was a whole bunch of procedures and traditions and ceremonies that were not carried out, and he didn't even ride, and he didn't even fly in Air Force One. That was going on too. Biden didn't ride in Air Force One. He didn't have a proper what do you call it? The you know, like the entourage of cars or whatever the fuck.
He didn't have the right.
He didn't have the right stuff.
He didn't have the military badges. That was a big one.
They didn't do the 21 gun salute thing or whatever either.
When normally you have a president doing his conversation, you have like military badges that they are showing that the military, because he's not just the president of the United States of America, he's also the commander in chief, right? And so the first thing you'll notice about Trump during his inauguration, he's got this, I don't know if the first thing you'll notice, but it's there, thousands or hundreds of dozens, you know, these different badges of military that he's the commander and chief over. And so the conspiracy was that Biden was secretly working for Trump, and that Trump might not have been acting as president. Legally, you couldn't do that twice or 3 times. Now he can, because he was just the commander in chief over. I mean, theoretically, right? Like over.
I mean, if that was true, we wouldn't be in.
These are like his WWE belts. He's flexing this shit hard, like, you know, it's like WrestleMania.
Yeah. All right. Wait, but hold on. So Superman,
probably looking at it like the same thing.
Superman,
no, I was saying if Trump was really in charge of things, I don't think we would be in the situation we're in right now. Trump might not have, if he was in charge of everything, he might not be like, okay, I'm going to do things 100% the best job, you know. So, you know, the country's good, and you know, I got to get votes. Like, you can make the argument like, yeah, if Trump was running in the background, he made it crash because he wanted the votes. But I don't think that's the case.
Well, that's again.
Didn't it also seem like Biden, because there was all these proxy wars, right? It was like he wasn't really able to send troops into any new places. You know, he wanted to, or at least you would think that he wanted to, but like it appeared to me, like, I don't know the in-depths on this. This is just me spitballing, but it appeared to me like there wasn't any military command going on for Biden that entire 4 years.
It felt like that, and then he was like retired until like the last month, and so that's the thing that's scary for Superman's point.
Well, he He was co-signing for a lot of agendas that the military-industrial complex has in order to sort of maintain a monopoly on resources and stuff.
Right. Exactly. Specifically
Which
that.
Trump didn't do.
And
So-
financing all these things that Trump wouldn't want to publicly be known for financing, like the
What a
Ukraine
dick.
and Israeli, conflict, which, by the way, are the only two conflicts that aren't suspended from Trump. When he did his EOs to suspend all the military spending in all these countries, he didn't suspend Ukraine or Israel. All right, like he's still doing the thing. And that's the funny thing when they ask, like, what was your favorite president while he's doing all the EO signing? He's like, Bill Clinton.
Shame.
And it's like, well, yeah, of course, Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton's the guy who told you to run in the first place. So there's a lot to this whole idea. And it's just scary, though. It's a scary thought, because basically what it's saying is, what if Trump isn't Batman? Or what if Q isn't like your hero? Or what if there's a lot more going on with this pathological conspiracy?
Right.
To get you?
It's all a charade.
All of it would be a charade at that point, right? Because that's why they sat together and smiled at the end there when they're sitting. And it's like, oh, this is why Biden pardons everyone who was involved with the show. Everyone involved with the show, right? They're all pardoned.
Right.
But what does that mean, right? Because you've got everyone who looked into it even are pardoned. It's like we just can't even ever talk about what happened for the last 8 to 10 years ever again. It's just to be wiped under the rug.
It will be.
Didn't happen.
It will be.
And like Bernie said, he's been warning about it. The oligarchy is taking its mask fully off.
Well, there's
But,
only
I
one
mean,
more.
the
There's
thing
one
is-
last step. The last step is to fake an alien invasion, is to lie to us and tell
Exactly.
us, oh yeah, aliens are gonna invade. You gotta go under one government.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, what else? They played every card imaginable. That's the last thing. It's like we need an
Everything
existential
that
threat.
we're told is like bullshit conspiracies has happened. Like everything. So what's next? The aliens, dude. The
Yeah,
aliens.
yeah.
That's all that's left.
Yeah.
Everything else has happened, dude.
Well, they're
I
doing-
don't even think it's far fetched anymore. I just don't
Someone
even,
did bring up, someone brought up the BLM versus the CIA in which agents were at January 6th. This one sticks out. This lady,
What a
Graham.
fucking
She's a
idiot.
killer.
Well, I thought.
Oh, 1 second. Sorry. I have to remember something else. Okay, so I was just re-listening because, like, he's a trip, right? I was re-listening to Bill Cooper or William Cooper, however you know him as, the other day, and because I have a lot of time while I'm driving, so I listened to like a shitload of his show about like the mystery schools, right? And what he said in one of the videos only a week before was that when Mexico becomes a part of the United States of America, that is when the capstone will finally be complete. And then a week later, from me hearing him say that, all of a sudden Trump's on TV saying the Gulf of America. And I almost shit myself because it was just too weird. Like, coincidence? I don't know.
What's this? What's the Marxist style workers hat look like again? I'm trying to find an example. Like a labor hat, like the Russian, not the beret, but
the
like
little cap with like the flat top on it.
Oh,
Like
I know what I'm doing. I'm wasting time. The easiest way to do that would be to just literally show you that freaking lady again. So the Marxist hat. So this is the thing that like led me to this. I was like looking at her, and my first thought was the same thing as Superman. Oh, what an idiot. Okay, so for those who don't know, an Idaho woman who became known as MAGA Granny spent time in prison for her role on January 6th. She's rejecting Trump's pardon. She says, I broke the law. I'm not a victim. The message is if I took the pardon, that would be saying what I did that day was okay. I was wrong. Okay. So my first thought was just saying like, oh, wow, what an idiot, But then I looked deeper and I figured out, oh, well, first off, she hasn't been in prison for years. This was like very briefly she was in prison. It was a very short thing that happened. So that's a reason why she wouldn't take the pardon for one. The other thing is you look at her freaking
Still
hat.
an idiot.
Well, no, again, you look at her hat and start to realize something about her. And I don't mean to get into Sandy Hook or anything, but this lady.
But was she paid?
Not
Was she
real.
paid to
I'm
give this
sorry.
statement?
That's what I'm saying. I think she's a plant who was put in. We talked about this earlier. People are put into jails to spy on other people in jails. This happens all the time. They want to get data from these people. She was honeypotting the January 6ers and other people in jail, right? That's the whole thing. And to create maybe
I mean,
that's a horrible thing to say, and I should say,
that's-
well, I think it's my opinion, my religious belief, okay?
That's obviously Sally Field, okay? It's you don't
Clearly.
it doesn't take much makeup.
Sally Field.
And by the way, all that was a joke. YouTube, we're just kidding, of course.
This video got demonetized like
I've
a
just
long
been
time
playing
ago.
games this whole time.
Yeah, right. I don't know, but yeah.
What are you
So
playing,
someone's
Colin?
Like I'm literally playing Vanquish right now. I am playing games while I'm
If
playing
it makes
games.
you feel any better, what's it, Stevenson? I am working on videos in the background. So
Oh,
Nice work.
shout out to Platinum Games and
All right.
Vanquish and
so speaking of
Bayonetta,
games,
all of
no,
that. Best shit
Speaking of
ever.
games, people are talking about it. What the fuck did this world-class debater / streamer Destiny do?
oh
apparently-
no. Okay. Be very, very careful because there is information. Yeah, just
All right,
just
so
be
how about
careful
this?
what
How about,
you-
let me rephrase that. We're not going to talk about Destiny. What we're going to talk about is grooming in the
No,
entertainment
the-
industry.
Completely
the
unrelated.
Destiny you can talk about. Just be careful of the tweets.
No.
because
Destiny is just a
you don't know
small
what leaks
fractal.
are out
Destiny is
there.
a small fractal of a larger thing, which is literally, I mean, it's a real thing,
What's
right?
the-
Grooming in
Oh.
Hollywood, grooming in fucking in the music industry. I mean,
in the
this is it's
streaming
real
world,
shit.
too.
Yeah, we see it happening like with Diddy and shit. Like it's real shit, and it's like it's pretty satanic. I mean, I think it is Luciferian. I think there is ties to like satanic ritual abuse and all this
He was
shit.
a kid.
Well,
You don't want to
We're
imagine.
coming up with a comic book story right now, by the way, everybody. This is a comic book story.
They should just go to Mexico.
That we're talking about.
Okay, I mean,
Oh, do you remember what Q, like one of the most famous ways Q would end every tweet with? QAnon would post TikTok. Like how many coincidences before there's too many coincidences? TikTok. So I also find it kind of interesting that TikTok would be the thing that the United States government wants to buy all of a sudden. But
Yeah,
okay,
Listen,
so
I'll be honest with you. A lot of these conspiracies, like they're fun.
they're
to,
fun.
like, they're fun to
Exactly.
think about, and they're fun to use as a brain exercise. But if you go and talk to a normie and be like, "Hey, this is what I think," don't expect a positive reaction. You know,
No, but I think the veil. I think I don't know who said this quote, but the veil is thinning.
Well, a lot
I
of
do think
shit's
more
gone
and more
down.
I think
Exactly.
I think a lot of people
yeah,
are
the
starting
veil
to
is
realize.
thinning, but you also need to make sure that as the veil thins, people are ready to receive the information, and you didn't already turn them off of it because of some crazy way you present
Right,
it.
so they don't
you know
just go
what's funny?
inform on you because they
That's
may
funny.
inform on you, dude.
That's funny you said that though, because I remember like 5 or 6 years ago, I used to literally consciously think about this when I met somebody. I'd be like, do I want to be patient with you? Like, or how patient do I want to be with you? Either do I want to slowly explain to you the world is not what you think it is, or do I want to just hit you with it and then wait for
latter.
you
Fucking
5
shove it in your
no,
face.
okay, so let me
you know
ask
what?
you-
No, no,
and
'cause
then
we
you'll
did-
call me. Then you'll call me in 5 years. It'll take you 5 years to process it, but I'll engram you, and then eventually
Dude,
it just comes through you
that's
once
better
you
because
try to
that's better.
process it.
First of all,
I
the
don't
former-
like that
no,
way.
I want to say the former. We've been doing
I
that
know you
for
do.
decades and decades and decades and decades, and it has not worked. Now is the time because it's the only chance where you can hit people with that ontological shock hammer.
No.
Yeah.
Information
This-
is flat out useless if you don't relay it properly. If people can't absorb the information you're giving, it is a waste of time and information.
This loops back to the God thing that we were talking about earlier and the lessons. You know, if you don't learn a lesson the first time, God will send you more and more obvious signs. Like God smacks you
Straight
in the head,
up.
you know, God smacks you in the head. If you don't learn your lesson the first time, you're gonna learn it the last time.
Yeah, but I'm not God, so I'm not going to give you information and throw it in your Andreas. There's plenty of conversations that we have where I'm like, this information is difficult to absorb. How am I going to convert it into information that people can take in? Because you don't want to only have your high concept ideas relate to your high concept audience.
Yeah, but
You
look at
want
us right
people
now,
to
though.
absorb it.
But look at what we're doing right now. Like, we are in no state to be saying, "Oh, we got to be careful." No, we're way past that. We're fucking
We
up
are.
so hard
Either
about
we keep-
everything. We're
Either
addicted
we
to
keep
porn, we're
swimming to the
addicted
island, or
fentanyl,
we
we're
swim
addicted
home.
to alcohol, we're addicted to media, we're addicted to TikTok. Like, it's gotten to this breaking point, and it's not that I'm deciding this. I'm not consciously saying I gotta fight for this, whatever. No, I literally feel like I'm just leaning on something already about to tip over. You know, like I literally don't think like it's some revolution that we got to stake our shit on. No, it's you can't stop it. We're way past this.
It just
point
keeps
of, like,
happening. It just keeps coming.
But I hear Superman though, in a sense, because it's like you'll talk maybe like your girlfriend, you know, you might communicate with your girlfriend in a way that you're slow or impatient, because if you communicate properly,
Gentler.
you might get it quicker than 5 years from now after you're broken up. You know, she might get it while you're still dating in a month or something like that. But if you just hit somebody with data, I do believe sometimes it takes 5 years and they hate you those whole 5 years.
Yeah.
But then they call you and they're like, so what's going on? Right? Like when the Q thing
this
was
is where
happening,
forgiveness comes into
all
play.
these people,
You have
all
to
these
forgive.
people, there's so many people that are like, I hate you, you're crazy, I
Forgive
don't want to
them.
talk to you. And then they call me 5 years later because they're like, hey, I'm locked in my house by the government and they're making me take shots. What's going on?
Andreas,
Do you have any ideas?
You gotta take the higher path, man. You gotta forgive those motherfuckers. You gotta be like, yo, listen, you were stupid, but I forgive you. Here's what you should do. You don't tell them what to do. You say, here's what I'm doing, and it's working for me. And if it is working for you, then you're
so
not
when they
lying.
come back to you, you say, "This is the information I have, and this is the way I got it. You know, this is how you can do the research." You like you can't throw high concept ideas at people. It just turns everybody off of it. Like, fine, they'll come back to you in 5 years, but for that 5 years, you're going to be alone.
They're worthless.
Like, come on. Like, I'd rather take the time to
put it harshly,
explain my thoughts to people who, like,
But
for
that's
example,
inefficient.
Andreas,
You
there
can't
are
do that
times
for
when I
every
have to
single
explain
person.
my thoughts to you because it's not really clear. But I take my time to do it, and you also do the same.
Is it true? Because I respect you, and I think that's the point. I respect you, and I'd rather not lose your friendship for 5 years.
But that's the thing. I'd rather keep the friendships I have in a healthy way and maybe relay the information slower and in a way they can absorb and be able to, in a couple weeks, maybe hang out with them, talk about it, be like, hey, did you look at this? What did you think? Get their opinions on it rather than throwing my opinion at them and then waiting 5 years for their opinions to align to the way my opinion or my ideas.
Okay, so I would argue that there's different tactics. All right, you can go through the debate route, the dialectic route, where it's like, here's the evidence, here's the data, and just throw the data at them. Or there's other ways. There's more visceral ways. You could literally embody your truths. You could embody your opinions. There's no room for debate then. It's like saying, yo, look, it's possible. I'm not telling you that, like, you know, I don't have to argue this with you because I'm not trying to prove a point. What I'm trying to tell you that as a person who embodies what I'm trying to argue, instead of just using words, like using action, using embodiment, using habitual change, like gradual change of the self, and be a living embodiment of your ideals, of your beliefs, of your opinion, then I think that's more effective. You know, like, you don't want to change people's minds. You want people to think they came to your conclusion all by themselves. And the best way to do that is to show them an example, you know, to demonstrate, not explicate. That's my opinion. Anyway.
No, I agree with you. I'm not arguing with you one way or the other. All I'm saying is the path that I normally take, especially when it comes to high concept ideas, especially when Andreas is one of the smartest people I know. If I want to have a conversation with somebody about something I spoke to Andreas about, I have to bring it down to a level that an everyman can understand. Now, people can take whatever path they want, but you should do so knowing the desired outcome.
But would you consider that maybe with certain subjects we're running out of time to handhold people and baby them through certain things?
If that is in fact the case,
that time has come now. The last
wait, let Superman finish.
The last 8 years. I'm so sorry.
You get next.
No, I mean, I was saying, if that is the case and we are in such a dire area, it's even more of a need to bring those concept ideas down to the everyman level, because the more people who understand it, the more people will be behind you and things will not be so desperate.
But before Colin comes in, I think that bringing up being in a dire area made me think of diarrhea. Your body is literally purging something. It's not comfortable for you, but it's something that needs to happen in order for you to you just have to. The only way out is through.
So,
And
do you
Just
want
random
hemorrhoids
picture
by
games
forcing
for
it
this.
out, or do you
No,
want to just let it go?
Oh my
out,
God.
right?
We got
Way out is
Neil
Good point. Good point.
Damn, Andreas.
But before Colin steps in, I just wanted to loop this into the alien thing, because it's like the government. We all know that it's true, but the government, for some reason, feels like we would be too shocked and too afraid if they divulged everything that they knew about it. When really, I think that we all would feel a sense of relief if they just copped to it, right?
I agreed, right? Like I'm okay with
We
you
would.
being out there, but if somebody, like, for example, I can't wait for the JFK files to come out, not because I'm going to be doing the research into them, but because I trust people I know to do that deep research. You have Andreas, you have Adam, you have people that actually know how to do the research properly and actually present it in a proper way. So I think for some people, sure, give them the flood of information, but you have to remember your audience and who you're talking to.
Big if true, but also that's the point of having a community. I always kind of choose to I would, if I had a choice, I'm gonna choose my community of friends that are likely to look into everything I say rather than just believe what I say anyway. I think most people here are super skeptics. That's how I make you my friends.
Sorry, when
I'm
it comes
like,
to the JFK files, I trust your word on all of it. 'Cause
all right, there's certain things, but for the most part, I think a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I don't know if the world's even round, so like that's a good place for a lot of people epistemologically. If you deny everything you've ever heard before and you question all things, cool, then we can probably ask questions about things and figure out what's really going on. I mean, at least we could figure out what's not going on, and that's something, right?
I mean, aren't some people saying that part of the reason they took out JFK was because, and Marilyn Monroe, was because they were pro disclosure at that point. They were.
It's a huge part of what's going on, and there's a reason why George Herbert Walker Bush got CIA briefings until the day he died. Right, he's the only president who ever cared to continue to do what he did before. There's a way it was, and now we're stepping out of that time. The people involved with that are retired and removed essentially in a lot of ways, which is, it's a cool conspiracy theory. I like the idea of it. I don't know. Okay, what about grooming? Are we gonna go to grooming or no?
Yeah, Neil Gaiman.
Well, I don't know. I feel like Neil Gaiman, we will kind of save some of it for Vincent, but it's important.
What happened with him?
Neil Gaiman or Vincent? Just kidding.
Yeah. I saw echoes of it earlier today, but I don't know what's going on with him.
Neil Gaiman wrote my favorite comic book, The Sandman.
Oh, I know who he is.
Yeah, I'm just telling the audience just in case they don't. But like, he was important to a lot of us. And Vincent, who you've seen on the show quite a bit, he's not the kind of guy to believe in anything. Like, he's a very skeptical person, and this was one that really hurt him. And I think I feel bad talking about while he's not here, because I'm sure he's going to want to bring this up next time. But we can all meditate on his suffering. He said, I have never been one to trust others for much. It always felt like a trap, but I trusted Neil Gaiman. And it seems that trust made idols out of people as we fabricate a version of them that excludes the capacity to portray. No more idols. Protect your psyches, right? And I think that's a thing about, the groomer quality we were talking about a second ago. Do I have that picture there? Where did I go? Because he got in trouble recently, and I loved The Sandman, but I never trusted Neil Gaiman for a couple reasons. One, he was married to Amanda Palmer.
Hines?
Yeah, no, that was a slippery slope. But Amanda Palmer, if you ever listen to the Dresden Dolls, I've been living in Dresden. I've been thinking about the Dresden Dolls. I've been listening to Coin Operated Boy. I listened to the abortion song recently from Amanda Palmer, right? Like, I listened to her, and I know not to trust that lady, and that anything that she is involved. And Neil Gaiman lived in Connecticut. I know not to trust Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut. You can't trust anybody in Connecticut. Like, let's be honest. All right, so he ends up putting poop and pee on his hands and putting it into the mouth of vulnerable, nearly homeless girls that he has babysit his kids.
Literally, that's
he's-
the way.
What?
That's not an allegory. That's literally
That's
what it
real.
is.
Literal.
Yeah, and
Oh.
call me master. And the idea that he did this while his son was in the room, only kind of weird. I mean, I'll be honest, it's kind of bad. But like, how many of you poor people living in a trailer park in America have had sex while your kids are in the other room? You can't pull that on, him being the issue.
I don't
The
know. If
issue
you're
is
in a trailer, go out to the forest or something. Be a normal.
All
or
right,
send
but
your kids out to the forest. But the real thing here is he's grooming his kid because he's doing weird stuff in front of his kid. And his kids ends up calling the babysitter slave. And he's like, no, son, we
Jeez.
don't call her slave. It's like, yeah, but we're master, daddy. He's like, okay, well, now you got a whole pattern here where you're showing exactly how this could have happened to him. He probably saw some weird, he's English. He's probably seen, you think Connecticut's weird? He's probably seen some weird stuff in England. I'll be honest. The whole point of that comic book, the Sandman comic book starts out with a 60s satanic sex cult that invokes death by accident getting dream trapped in a chamber, and ends with a serial convention that's actually a serial child molester convention, right? That's the end of the Sandman book. So, I mean, it's always been pretty clear that the guy was weird, into weird stuff, and he's justified it by saying he was, a queer ally who was into BDSM,
All
right?
I just want to say, without touching what he
Which
did,
is weird. Which is why are we conflating kink with I just don't understand what this.
Besides
What
all
is,
that,
what
I
is
just
this phenomenon? No, seriously, I just want to throw out there. What is this phenomenon that, like, I grew up in, like, a pretty liberal way, in a sense. I went to a Unitarian church, like, growing up, and it was like the rainbow and everybody is welcome and everybody's good. And then all of a sudden one day it was like kids gotta cut their dicks off, otherwise you're a Nazi, and like militant. Like, what happened? Like, ever since the triangle went onto the flag, like, it used to be this beautiful thing, and it was like everybody love each other and respect each other, and they may not understand us, but like we need to show them a better way, and all of that is just thrown out. And then, like, to put like kink in, it's offensive to me that like kink is somehow a part of like homosexuality now. Like, all of the people that I grew up with, all of the people that I knew, like, I cannot see them being like comfortable with this. And if they are, then I didn't know them at all. And that's what I have to say.
Well, it's funny how Trump he began the inauguration with the Village People. So, I mean, yeah, there's gay, and then there, Cohen, right? We talked about this last time. Cohen wasn't gay. He just liked having sex with men. And if you were to tell him that he was gay, he would have been very confused, because his idea of gay would have been this whole effeminate, LGBTQ culture. He wasn't into that. He's just a dude in a suit who liked to have sex with men, right? Like, and that's, like, he was no wussy. He wasn't having sex with girls. He had sex with guys. Like, yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense, but he tried.
No, I see what you're saying.
Men were
Like,
men.
But you were trying to say something, Chris. I'm sorry.
oh shit.
You
I
had
was
to be
going to
patient.
say, when it comes to back to the original point of idolizing people, because that's what Vincent was basically lamenting on. It's like about, like, don't trust your idols or whatever. I say, if you're going to idolize anyone, idolize fictional characters. That's what I do. I idolize like Naruto. I idolize the
Same.
Musketeers. They're pretty cool. Because they can never be corrupted. But real people, yeah, they're real people. You can't really idolize real people. They're just like you. They're just different versions of you, pretty much. So that's the dangers of idolization, which could lead to grooming.
yeah, but
that's the biggest
the
problem.
different
with
version
idolization.
of me doesn't put poop on my hands and make homeless people call him master. Like, I'm just saying.
That's why you don't
like,
idolize people, man. You that's what leads to grooming. If you idolize,
so
someone,
that's
you
where I
groom
break
them.
down, though.
dynamic.
Like, when you say that we're all different versions of each other or whatever, I would never, ever in eternity do the things that these ghouls do. I do not think that they have anything in common with me at all. Like, I just don't accept that. That's all I have to say. Like, I don't think that there is a piece of me in these ghouls at all.
There's probably something
Hurt
weird
people
about you.
hurt people.
I can totally imagine you doing, like, you might have normal sex, missionary position, but want to wear red rubber boots. I have no idea
Yeah,
what it is.
But I get if I start like withdrawing a doobadoo from children and putting them like in dungeons, that's not that. I am not that. That is demonic. It's on another level. So maybe they're me in another body and another soul or something, but there is something else entering the equation that has
agreed.
nothing
Yeah.
to do with me.
No, I think
That has
demons are
nothing
real.
to do with me.
I think
Yeah, it's a
demons are totally
spiritual
real.
sickness, yeah.
And I think venereal diseases might be in some way. In the old days, they used to describe gut fauna, bacteria. I mean, we already know today that it controls your brain and makes you want to eat meat. Vegans will tell you this all the time. You've got some parasites in your stomach that are telling your brain with neurohormones that you want to eat this horrible stuff that you don't even want because you're eating for two. Well, if a gut fauna can tell you that you want to eat cheese and hamburger, then gut fauna can tell you all kinds of stuff. It can make you want to have sex with guys or children or dogs, who God knows what certain kinds of gut fauna and viruses or whatever kinds of conscious entities that live inside of your metabolism that they would want to use your mind to convince you to do to benefit them, to help them spread
Interesting.
themselves.
We all have a
That's a
choice,
very
but
good point.
It comes back to observing your thoughts, observing your feelings, and then actually acting on them.
Exactly. That was my question. So the question is, if the guy had all those thoughts and just did that all in his head, but never did it acted, would it make him the bad person he is?
Jesus said
No.
yes. Jesus said the moment a sin has entered your mind, you've done it in real life, which is like, that's a lot. You know, I get that. And I think it's better not to do it, because if you do it to people, I think
it's different for it to come into your mind and to entertain the thought. I don't think Jesus would necessarily say that, because you're not your thoughts. We were talking about that earlier, right? Like, I could think all sorts of fucked up shit for a second, where's a bunch of fucked up shit around us in the media. There's a lot of influences out there that things are going to enter my mind, but once I entertain them, once I like them,
and you're playing with yourself. You're not responsible for the first thought, but thinking it again is
for sure. Exactly. That's what I think.
I think it also matters what you eat. You know, I think this is kind of like the Jews saying you shouldn't have pork, or you shouldn't have cheese and meat at the same time. There's ways you should live your life to be careful.
Mix meat with milk, because in the old day you didn't want to cook the cow in its mother's milk.
I bet you. I keep thinking to myself though that there's a lot more to these things than the simple health practice.
Well, yeah, you have to get if you want to get into deep detail. Of course, there's like 1,000 different reasons, but the reason that's given, day to day is, that
it's there's a practical reason that's biologically bad, but there's also, I think, consequences that we don't anticipate that might lead you to do things you don't want to do. And this is kind of, for me, a hard one, because when I was a kid, I was just watching Species, and I was remembering when I was a kid, I was like 6 years old. I loved the movie Species. I loved Das Boat, Species, Terminator.
Wasn't it the one where she was like basically naked?
She was naked the whole. That was the thing about her. She was a great actress. I could totally believe that she was naked. She was very convincing. Like it was amazing. But it was.
I've seen that movie hundreds of times. It's very convincing, right, Andreas?
I remember my babysitter. I was like 7 years old, and I told the babysitter, like, she's like, "You like Species? That's crazy. You're too young." But then she's like, "You know what? I work in a movie theater, and I have the poster at the theater. I can bring you for Species 2, which is the reflective." And they asked my parents, like, "Yeah, that's fine." And it was the one where she's naked, but you walk and she becomes an alien. You know what I'm talking about? The Species 2 poster. Have you seen that one?
So you tricked your parents
like a holographic cover, yeah.
I think so, actually.
My parents weren't paying much attention. Basically, you stood to like one side and you stood to the other side. And this is what I think of women to this day, really. It's like femininity is violence, but and predatory. And that's the whole point of the first movie. You're like, what was the part that was the monster? Because the DNA is half alien, but it's also half human. And isn't it obvious? The human female part is the terrifying predatorial part of her. But Species 2 is all about Hunter Biden. I really highly recommend people watch it. I forget why we brought that up.
We were talking about your lack of parental supervision during childhood.
Right. Thank you. And so I think that, that probably great example. It shows you how weird and messed up I am in the head to an extent now. I'm doing okay, I think, compared to some people that we read about in the newspapers. But like, I'm kind of crazy, and I compare that to normal people all the time now. I hadn't used to, but you be in Europe and you meet someone who's never heard of Bugs Bunny, or like never seen a Disney movie, or like been completely sheltered from all sorts of messed up stuff. And you know what they are? Happy, healthy, well adjusted. It's freaky. It's freaking weird that these people are still alive.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Andres. We all grew up a different way, and we all have our own experiences. I don't think something like that would, you should consider yourself fucked up or weird. We're all different in our own ways. I really don't think.
All I know is that I'm keeping my kid away from rated R movies until he's like older. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I get it. I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like I'm gonna make my kids. So it's hard for me because it's like that's what I did as a kid. Is I watched a lot of these,
right.
And so to take that away from them, like I'll need somebody else who really
struggle.
Has something else to offer,
You should either A, give your kid to me and I'll teach them the way of the Japanese sword, or B,
duly noted. All right,
do that. That's the only way to do it.
Already agreed.
The only way to do it.
Yeah, or you should teach them filmmaking. You should teach them how movies are made too. It's like
you
don't have to be a filmmaker. Yeah, you don't have to be a filmmaker to know how movies are made. Like, you could understand the whole production process. You can understand, well, first, son, it starts with the money. You need men with a lot of fucking money. And then with that money, you're able to...
No, don't start with the money, man. You're going to get him to be an anti-Semite in like a week.
I'm going to marry a Jewish girl. I mean, if I have a son, I already know.
Yeah. But ratings, I think, are kind of superficial, because you could look at movies like Big or Blank Check.
Black Guy just showed his 4-year-old Starship Troopers.
What about
Black Guy? You get it. You get me. You get how I think people, because I want your kid to be ready for this world. You know what I mean? I'm not sheltered.
No, okay. There's again. So we're going back literally to the conversation of information and how it's presented, right? You don't want to do that to a kid.
I loved it. Starship Troopers are like, and I had a conversation like this recently where someone was like,
"Not every kid has your fortitude of character."
Yeah, but why do I have that? Don't you think maybe that comes from watching Starship Troopers as a kid?
I think it's basically because your dad named you Sue, and you became tough and you became mean.
What would be worse, watching Starship Troopers as a 4-year-old or being a Palestinian 4-year-old?
Ooh, yeah, right. And how could you understand a Palestinian easier?
I will make zero comment on that.
They're 4. What crimes have a 4-year-old committed?
You'd be surprised how many 4-year-old Palestinians have run around with a bomb.
But you saw those kids earlier doing those Nazi salutes. You saw them. You saw them. They were.
So I do know, actually.
Yeah, he's seen it too. It's crazy what you can strap to a 4-year-old.
Deserve to die.
It's crazy what you can strap to a 4-year-old.
Nobody says they deserve to die, but if you're throwing rocks at a car, you expect to be,
So you think it would be better if they had like an AK-47 just to sort of balance out?
Oh, no, they shouldn't have an AK-47 either. Don't give a child a gun, period. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but rocks were put there where rocks are just there.
Bro, have you ever had a rock thrown at you?
It's not fun.
No.
It sucks.
No, you haven't. Have you ever had an Arab throw a rock at you?
Are they especially gifted at throwing rocks? Because
yes, and they are extremely dangerous. I would definitely do some research into slings and rock throwing in the Middle East.
I mean, it worked against Goliath, right?
But that's what I'm saying. It is dangerous. You can have an AK, you can have a gun. Somebody throws a rock at a moving car. What happens?
A ding happens.
No, the rock goes through the windshield at the speed that the person is going, and it can potentially kill them.
Physics, yes, correct, of course.
So I understand, but I understand saying, okay, it's a 4-year-old.
Well, okay, so the thing is that like the 4-year-old didn't do shit, but like you can't just be like, ooh, the poor 4-year-old if their parents were doing fucked up shit. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I'm not saying that the 4-year-old is like guilty of what their parents were doing, but it's not like, ooh, this poor independent 4-year-old nothing happened in his environment to cause him to be in a bad situation. Like I'm not gonna comment. I'm not gonna comment. Like when it comes to this is all my thoughts. Like I even made a stupid tongue-in-cheek video about it because like when it comes to Palestine and Israel, like I don't live there. This dude lived there, but from my perspective, like both of them need to just chill the fuck out. Both of them. I'm not going to take a side. I'm not going to take a side over here, and I'm not going to take a side over there.
That might work.
No,
that might work.
Like this is important. This is important to be able to say. This is important to be able to say. Is that I'm not going to say these people over there did things worse than these people over there. These people over there killing these people over there, and I'm saying that it is complicated, and for us to not live there.
John's like, what about a 6-year-old instead of a 4-year-old? Look, I mean, the difference is that
people are conflating things and putting false equivalencies to things.
You take anybody, right? And we're using kid because kids have less experience. You take anybody and you say, this person, you are really special and you're a wonderful kid, right? But those people over there, they're here to kill you. And you say that to them their entire life. You're training the fox and the hound. And so you're going to end up in a situation where they're designed, their whole existence is no longer based on what they do, but on how they relate to another group of people. And that's crazy, right?
I will be 100. Everybody knows now that I am a Mizrahi Jew. If anybody knows what a Mizrahi Jew is, that is a Middle Eastern Jew. That means we lived in Iraq along with the other Arabs. I have zero issue with anybody who is Arab or Palestinian. I only have issue with people when they try and hurt or attack me. I have tried to do good for them before, and I almost got killed for it because I was in the wrong area. So I understand your perspectives on it, but it is a very, very complicated thing.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's complicated as fuck. And for us to take sides when we don't even live there is retarded. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Can I give him another pertinent parallel?
I should have said like an Afghani kid.
I just want to say on a pertinent example, on a parallel, like this is actually across the sea. Like we're about to deal with this shit in Mexico. This is going to be us. Like we are going to deal with like a conflict.
I'm going to take every stance I've heard that pissed me off just to piss the Americans off. I'm kidding. I'm just
saying,
stick by my own beliefs, but
from what Trump said, apparently he's going to send some heavy ass guns to if he talks about taking on the cartel, he's taking on the people who literally run the country. So that's basically going to war with sorry, Andreas, you're muted.
Not just Mexico, the people who used to up till like this year run America, right? Like the cartels are CIA.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, it's scary shit. Like imagine seeing like tier 1 Delta Force guys like in Chicago or Seattle, like doing some shit. That's like terrifying. You're like, what the fuck is happening, man?
Vega, just so you know, it doesn't matter where they're from. I would feel the exact same way. What's wrong and dangerous is wrong and dangerous.
I mean, is there a historical precedent for that in America? Have cartels ever been branded as terrorists, like by the state?
No,
well, so theoretically, yeah, that's the thing. This is the irony. Thank you. You kind of
taxes.
Well, it almost spoils the joke, but that's the joke. So terrorism is a non-state actor, and the answer, as Vega said, if they are part of the state, if they're financed by the state. Well, let's look at examples. Operation Fast and the Furious on. How many examples do you need to see that the American military industrial complex and the intelligence community are building, financing, producing the cartels, making and licensing deals? You can go back to the 70s and 80s and start to see they had GPS submarines bringing cocaine into the United States. Who do you think built that stuff? Who had that stuff in the 1970s?
Yeah, but like the MIC, the military industrial complex, the whole cartel thing probably just got way
reminds me of Boys in the Hood.
It probably got out of control, and now it's like you're just left with these criminal elements that have like access to like basically a multi-billion-dollar corporation's worth of assets. Like
so I have a question for you. What about the people here who live in the apartment buildings and things like that?
Like me.
There are kids in those apartment buildings, but you also have gangsters who are trying to shoot up everybody. What would your solution be to that?
I mean, it's like Elon Musk walking around like holding his kid as a human shield. You know, it's
What do
I
you
don't know.
I think we
mean?
can all agree human shields are a big no-no.
yeah.
Eh.
I mean, it's immoral to take
What's
the
this
shot, right?
nonsense
Unless you're
about
really
Elon Musk holding his kid as a human shield? That sounds like
Well-
some CNN psyop.
Well,
Straight
it
the
kinda
fuck
does,
up. Like,
though.
what
I mean,
kind of shit is that?
And he was being tongue-in-cheek. He wasn't being serious.
He does kind of hold his kid in
I
front
think
of
he
him.
was being
Yeah.
serious.
He does.
I
I
mean,
kind of am being serious right
there
now.
may
He
or
does.
may
He
not
does
have
what-
been. Yeah, there was like an event that happened where, you know, CEOs were being targeted, and Elon Musk is a very prominent figure. I imagine that he was feeling a bit paranoid, and, you know, he decided to be an active father in the days following a certain news event that happened. And yeah, so I mean, it seems pretty obvious
I mean, I
what
can
went
see where
down.
you're coming from, but I also I am pressing.
He's a
X
Nazi,
out
too.
hard on it too. I'm pressing hardcore X on doubt.
Sure. Yeah, no, I accept.
Tell us how he's a
Agreement.
Nazi. Andrew, tell us how he's a Nazi.
I mean, he's because he's into rockets. That's why.
You know, because he supports Israel.
Decent answer. You know what? Is the Nazis did support Israel, right? The Havar.
Oh yeah, because
agreement.
they wanted to get us all in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that whole operation kind of like a
They tried to do it in Africa, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this
No,
there
no,
wouldn't
originally-
there would be no Jerusalem or Israel without World War II, right?
No, it's even weirder than that. So you
I
know
know,
the
no.
Havar. Do you know what the Havar agreement is?
I don't know if
The
there
Har-
would be no. It still exists.
No,
it would be under Israel.
Exactly. It's not World War II. It's literally the Nazis. And maybe you can also say Britain, because there were British Zionists. But it was the Nazis who created the Havar Agreement. And that was between the Third Reich and the what do they call it? The Zionist Federation of Germany, right?
Wait,
which was in Cologne.
Wait, who
You
did
know-
they? Do me a favor. Can you hover over the word Zionist real quick? I want to see who that was.
Yeah, so it just shows generally. Hold on, let me go back there.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
Herzl.
Yeah, hold on, let me go back there.
Is it Herzl?
Yeah. I think so. Hold on,
Yeah.
we'll open it up. This is
Oh, this is getting intense.
Herzl. Yeah, Theodore Herzl. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a very. From when I got to Israel, I didn't I graduated school before I went to the country, so I had a lot of free time on my hand. I was about 16, so I went to yeshiva, and I learned a lot about Herzl. And the way things were being taught were a bit too radical, even for me.
Well, okay, but you got to think about the controversy. So there's a point where Jews have no state of their own, and it's a lot worse than it sounds. Because not only are Jews not like having their own state, nationalism. We were talking about nationalism was becoming such a big thing. I'm like, well, we're going to have a nation of France. We're going to have a nation for Germany. We'll have a nation for Italy. What about the nation of Israel? And this is why it's a huge part of this. Where does the nation of Israel fit into this? Because they don't adapt to they're not these other groups you can convince you eat other foods and speak other languages. They're all peasants. They don't really care. This one group, though, they don't seem to be willing to do what they're told. And this becomes a major identity for the Jews. We're not doing what we're told by you. We're going to continue to do what reminds us of our ethic for our fathers and our love for our mothers, right? This is the cultural emergence of also a memory of what the Jews used to be like. Because Maimonides, right? There's a time when Jews weren't just forced. There's a time when Jews weren't just like theater Jews and
we were scholars, doctors. The people who don't work and say I'm studying Jewish law all day or Jewish Torah all day. That's a very European thing. The Jews who come from the Middle East, they took part in society. They became doctors. They became lawyers. They contributed to society as well as being rabbis.
Yeah, so you get a guy like Maimonides. Well, the Maimonides was a doctor, and he was healing people of all kinds: Jews, Gentiles,
peasants, everybody.
Yeah,
who would you say is the most famous Jew? I know the answer.
If you say Jesus, I'm going to slap you through the screen.
I mean, it's like Moses or Jesus.
but I like it. I still like it.
Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler. Famous.
Adam Sandler is actually better than Jesus. You win. All right. So the point is
doesn't this also? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to quickly say, like, Maimonides was kick-ass. The Jews were rad. They ran a bunch of societies. The Spanish Cordoba Caliphate was run by Jews, and this is a major point. This is a major point to bring up.
Was from Spain, funny enough.
Spain was kick-ass because, if you think about it, when you think of Spain, you think of the Spanish Inquisition. I don't know if most people think of the Spanish Inquisition.
No, I think of Mel Brooks' History of the World Part 1. The Inquisition. What do you know? The Inquisition. What
a show.
No, nobody? Really? Okay. Only one.
Came here to inquire of the Jews. So in that time, the Spanish Inquisition, they killed all people that weren't just not, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim,
Jews,
if you were Christian, you weren't Catholic. If you were Catholic, but you weren't Catholic enough, like basically it became the most, you had to be what we tell you to be, woke fascism, like today with vaccines. It was the worst it could possibly be in terms of the rules of didactic. And 1492. So 1491, a year before that, wasn't like that. Anywhere in the Caliphate, you could be Jewish, Muslim, Christian, whatever kind of Christian, not Christian. You pay a jizya, which is a kind of tax to take care of the local administration. I know, right? And the mafit collect it. And this is where the word mafia comes from.
Yep.
But so they would make sure that you were paying for the churches, hospitals, and etc. If you weren't a member of the Islamic community, but you could do whatever you want. It was like way liberal, a super liberal, kind of like a Jewish secular America liberal. Like you could free speech liberal. Like Spain was awesome. And there's a reason why the nationalist Jews, the Zionists, particularly Theodor Herzl, was all about trying to produce another Jewish state. Because he's like, look, if we were left to our own devices, and we're hearing other people do this, Italians are financing the creation of Italy. Americans were financing the creation of Italy. People didn't speak Italian in Italy. You know this? Until like the 1950s. They had to make TV shows called It's Never Too Late to teach Italians how to speak Italian.
Never too late to learn.
Yeah, because Italians spoke because it's like all these little villages. So little villages spoke like their own language. Like Tuscany spoke Tuscan. Like they were never speaking. It took years, 150. The first thing that they said was, now that we've created Italy, we
Did
must
they have any
create
raiders?
Readers? What do you mean? Huh?
Did they have any raiders in Tuscany?
Raiders in Tuscany. Sorry. All right. Sorry. I'm almost done with my stupid history rant. Zionism in Federation of Germany started in 1897 by Max Bodenheimer, another really interesting Jew who's also involved with the creation of, the revival of the Jewish language from Arabic script, because basically all the Jews were writing in Arabic and maybe some Greco.
My family spoke English, Arabic, and Hindi, all Hebrew. English, Arabic, Hindi, and Hebrew all in one sentence.
You see, voila, you see the point. So they had to revive the Hebrew language around the same time that Slavonian was being revived and every other language was being revived.
And didn't he do this with his son?
Yeah. And they actually were using Maimonides was a major reason, because Maimonides had kept such great notes in Cordoba. So that's why they had so much that they could work on and they could look back from. And the way it worked was basically they'd be writing in Arabic, but they'd be using very specific words that just don't exist in Arabic, and they have to be Hebrew, etc. So the last part, the Zionist Federation of Germany was looking for a way out for 20 years. And finally, the Third Reich Germans said, hey, you know what? We hate Jews. Why don't we get you out? Basically, this is how they started creating the Havar Agreement. And so they actually exported 60,000 German Jews to Palestine between 1933 and 1939. And what some people don't realize also is that the original Gaza invasion, I think it's 1960. Do you remember? So 1961, 1964.
Was it an invasion or a conquering?
Was it very British too?
So, question: who attacked first? And who won the war?
Well, yeah.
Well,
okay.
it sounds to me like the Nazis kind of forced their hand, regardless of what you call it.
What was interesting is that the German Reich equipment ended up in Gaza. And so the Israeli invading army had put Star of David patches
It's
over
true. It's true.
It is.
I'm going to tell you a story that is a well-known story. When Israel was being created, people didn't want to give us weapons. So what happened was they would disassemble parts of anything they could find when it came to like weaponry, tanks, and things like that. And you will find a lot of weapons that were used by the Nazis that actually have a Jewish stamped star because they were smuggled into Israel when nobody wanted to give us weapons. There is a tank in a tank museum that's actually called the Hotchkiss, and basically it is a 2-person tank, a freaking death trap, and was 100% used. You can still see the swastika and the Star of David.
That's epic. That's a big collector's
Is it
piece.
like the Raelian star?
Hotchkiss. There you go. Yes, I for those of you who don't know, I know tanks.
Dude, tanks are cool, right?
That's like the classic. That's like the classic story of like like you ever see the meme in NASA where it's like the Jewish rocket scientist sees the former Nazi scientist and then they like crossing into the parking lot. And they're like, damn. What the fuck? You know,
my ideas would be better than your ideas. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Exactly. Like that must have been some trippy shit. And they're like, hey, look, we're all scientists here, okay? We're all physicists, we're all rocket scientists. Let's just keep this about science, all right? And the Jewish scientists are like, yeah, all right, buddy. We'll see.
But everyone has their own nuanced flavor of neuroses, and the German logic is what destroyed them.
Well, yeah, it's because they killed all the relaxed Jews. Duh.
And they were like trying to make sure there was zero entropy in nuclear chain reactions, which is why they thought they were going to have to use way more uranium than they were actually going to need. And they basically shot themselves in the foot by getting rid of the people that would have helped them know how to do. It's just like, it's so sad.
Hand sanitizer only works against 99.9% of germs.
There's the other point, dude. It's going to get you.
The strongest germs survive.
We pushed this way further than in 2 hours, but no, it's okay. If you guys are okay, I would. Do you want to do one more question, or is that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I do have another show in about 30 minutes, though.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's just yeah, exactly. Let's just do Stargate. What do you think?
Yes,
you made the cool.
Yes, my favorite topic.
I see a lot of Egyptian shit in Stargate.
It was so funny because somebody said Adam looked like Destiny, and I was like, no, I want to find a good picture of Adam, and I thought I found it, and everybody's comparing it to Destiny, and I
have a picture. I've been wanting to say it too, because I have a picture with me with Adam and a picture of me with Destiny, and I want to put them next to each other. I need better shots of. I need higher quality shots of you, not on stream. Oh my God! Right, fair enough. Although I like how blurry I look, because I also look like myself. These sunglasses, there's something true about this.
This was from the face on here was from the couch meme where you're sitting down and then you have Adam and everybody else behind you.
I mean, my tits are flawless. I just can't.
But okay, so the Stargate project that's being created is not exactly the Stargate project that's on our minds or we're picturing in our heads. I don't understand it fully. I'm just getting excited from the name.
Let's do both. Let's talk about both things. Okay, so let's start with the real thing, right? Which is that Larry Ellison from the Oracle company, you know, who he bought Sun. He's done a lot of things. How old do you think this guy is, by the way? What do you think? You know, he's a transhumanist. I'll give you that hint.
60,
70.
Well, I told you, it's a transhumanist. So take the hint. Go a little higher.
80.
105.
That's a little high. Larry
82.
Larry Ellison is 80.
95.
95.
He said 80.
So, but he looks pretty good for 80. Okay. And the reason he looks this good and why Trump will continue to look good is because of transhumanist, life extension, anti-death, rejuvenation. He's got the good stuff.
Adrenochrome?
Like harvesting children? There are other things that might be better, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, adrenochrome would stress you out and give you those you know what I mean. The withdrawal from that, and then
you get that Kathy Gifford face. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that
Andrew.
Yeah,
face.
but didn't Sandra Bullock literally admit she she injects shit extracted from Korean foreskins into her face to make her look younger or something?
Which makes sense because her name is
I believe
Bullock.
so.
Yeah, this is real. Bro. Yeah.
Look
it up.
Bullock.
She was like, yeah, so apparently they get it from the foreskins of South Korean children.
One of the craziest things is that she's not trans, apparently, right? Even though
well, if they're South Korean, it's more like a 3 skin, isn't it?
So NAD plus, mononicotinamide, all that kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of cool things that you could be taking to stay younger. But I've always been talking. This is the thing that scared everybody. All right, I'll actually play the audio. I think it's worth it because you guys this is the point that if you've been paying attention, you might. Okay, whatever.
Once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person. Design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again, using AI in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours.
Okay, so that's what AI is talking about. This is the kind of thing I went to school for.
No.
Company called Twist Bioscience. We got to get to the point of it, right? This is really what it is that we're going to make a nuclear-powered station, the most powerful energy plant in the world. We're not going to just do like this 3 Mile Island company thing for Microsoft. We're not fooling around with that. Trump is making America's quasi-state-run nuclear energy company, the same way Russian Federation has quasi-state-run nuclear energy companies, the same way the Soviet Union used to have its own state nuclear reactors. There's going to be military-grade nuclear power. Why? So we can have both advanced intelligence, you call it artificial intelligence, but we'll say advanced intelligence, advanced general intelligence, advanced super intelligence, artificial super intelligence. So AGI versus ASI, right? And so ASI is this super intelligence, which is the godhead that they're trying to build, which will open up multiversal polarity and the singularity. This is in the next 15 years when the horizon point we reach and space-time comes to an end.
We're going to have war, though. What happened? How do we deal with radical life extension? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're just going to let us have that willy-nilly? Like, there has to be a deal. Like, if you get this, I think if you get radical life extension, you have to be sterilized. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, you could have this, but you can't have kids.
There's more than enough resources to turn this place into Coruscant. Come on.
Yeah, I get it, but like, do you really want to live that long?
I do.
Well, I want to be able to live as long as I want to live, though. That's a good start.
Once I start losing my faculties and my mind, and that's
that guy is 80.
I want to lose my faculties in my mind. I want to look like that when I'm 800. I want to maybe look like this when I'm 800. I want to.
Don't you think that kind of the way people respect life and the way people live life is almost in reverence to the fact that they know that it's not such a long time?
Not necessarily. I think that's part of why people get so self-destructive. Because they start to lose hope and feel so terrified in their 20s when they start to realize that it comes to an end and it starts freaking them out. Whereas most of the time, once you get past that, you guys have been talking about AA. I don't remember. I never really did that stuff, but they talk about one day at a time. And I've always lived like that. I do 5-year plans and live one day at a time. And living one day at a time is something that you could do forever. I could do that forever. I could read a book. There's a lot of books out there. Do you have any idea how many books there are?
You know how many times I could practice martial arts every single day for like 800 years? I'd be like,
all right. Well, okay, that's not fair. The martial arts is not fair. That's like a cheat skill.
Yeah, why not make the whole world learn how to do things like vampires that learn how to make good drawings, like Angel and Buffy?
Yeah, but even vampires are like, all right, I've lived for like 800 years. I'm sick of this shit. I'm walking into the sun.
And that's the thing. You'd be able to do that. We're not saying you can't choose to die, but it's like if you didn't have age-related diseases, right? Like mental loss, hip breaking, all this stuff. You might choose to live longer.
DNA, dude, or the RNA. We've had this stuff.
Well, biblically, didn't originally like the Jews live to be like 800 years old or something?
I mean, back in the time of like
why don't they anymore?
They were living to
why don't they anymore? Do you remember why?
It's because the subterranean ancients dumbed us down, or they bred like mortality.
It's because after we were sinning and living too crazy, and the deluge happens, and God floods us. Then after Noah, God says, next time you guys act like that and get too prideful, it's not going to be water. I'm going to burn you alive with fire. Okay. It's the coming of fire next time. I'm pissed. So God's pretty upset after the last flood and says, from now on, nobody lives over at 120. Just
And that's
sweeping
why
rules.
Jews say on every birthday, congratulations, may you live to 120.
Yeah.
But maybe we could change that.
And
yeah, 120. I'm fine with it. I'm fine. You want to? I'll live to 120. I'm okay with that. Leave good.
I mean, I definitely don't want to. I don't want to live that long at the expense of other people, for sure. Like, I don't want to live to be 800 if it costs other people's lives. Like, definitely not. But I don't know if it's as simple as like, hey, we have just easy
gene therapy.
Yeah, gene therapy is already a huge thing. So when I went to school, you know what I used to want to do when I was 19? I wanted to make adenoviral
Slices.
I wanted to make a vaccine for myself that turned my hair blue.
See,
I thought it'd be cool.
Andreas probably went and watched Batman Beyond and thought that the people who spliced their DNA with animals were just like so cool, and he wanted to figure that one out.
Did love Batman Beyond. I thought it was a great.
He wants a nation of cat ear girls. That's what he wants.
Cat boys and Hugh cow women.
This is how Atlantis fell. By the way, the story. The story or the movie Atlantis by Disney very much mirrors the movie Stargate, just as another sink to loop.
All right, and so let's get back into Stargate for a second, because that's the point. So they named this nuclear power plant that's going to be a company. It's going to be the AI company because it's tied. In order to have the supercomputer, you need to have the nuclear power. But they're building this.
Unless you have 0 point, but yes.
Yeah, we don't have a CPM ready.
We're building. This is how 0 point's going to happen. Like, this is the point. This is all the horizon.
Wait,
the
have we been able to activate subspace yet?
It's 2040, I think, is the point. We have 15 years to get everything sorted.
Sorry, so what do you, Jeff? You were on a roll.
No, I want you to talk about Stargate. Tell me, because you guys, the whole thing is what you do know about is Stargate. You love the show Stargate.
I'm a fiend for Stargate. Like I've even watched Universe, which was absolutely butter. I've watched Stargate multiple times. Atlantis is actually one of my favorites, to be honest with you. But I do like the. I didn't know that the show was based off the ancient aliens theory for like a long time, and then I started learning more about it, and I find it very intriguing and a good thought exercise that, like, if humans did exist beforehand, are we the second evolution of it? And if so, what
apparently we're the seventh
beforehand? But and that's what I'm saying. It's a very interesting way to think, because if you can kind of be like in your mind, okay, if ancient people acted this way and they had tech like this, why can't we?
Because there's gatekeepers, Stargate keepers.
I mean, we haven't figured out wormholes yet, but I think once we do, I don't think this would be out of the realm of possibility.
Well, It's also, I mean, I think like the strides we're making just psychically, like mentally already, like as individuals, without even the use of technology, is already, it's already going to lead to a chain reaction that's going to lead to maybe an understanding of wormholes technologically. I mean, I'm a layman, like I'm not any specialist in any kind of scientific field, but even I could understand the concept of like a quantum self, like if you could make peace with your past and your future selves, you could make a lot more of a difference in your environment than if you're just a person who's like constantly trapped in your present worries and your present struggles. If you could say, well, you know what, from this point on, I'm going to forgive my past self for all the mistakes he's made, and I'm going to start doing my future self some favors. And once you start living like that, like, who knows? And if everyone started living like that, that's like an evolution of the species, pretty much, just through a simple like perspective shift,
And I think
it would definitely cause a monumental perspective shift in the
because that means we're no longer just like these isolated beings in the present, that we become like quantum beings. Yeah.
And I think our understanding of that will grow, especially if scientists like from the international superpowers start working together instead of against each other. I've been on Red Note just asking Chinese people what they're allowed to talk about, and I've been like just going on and on about. I've basically just been telling them everything about the disclosure that's happening here and asking them what they're allowed to talk about and if they're allowed to talk about it. And couple of people have, well, this is a direct quote from one person in Jiangsu.
We need to start doing this as a segment weekly. Thank you, Vega.
China has actually been talking about these things, like more underground people, lizard people, the Galactic Federation, and so on. And then they were saying that my content talking about our reverse engineered technology that we've gotten from our crash retrievals, they think that it's a psyop. So to continue the quote, this content is too exaggerated, but unless there is something that makes me 100% unquestionably convinced, I can conservatively consider this content to be more like fiction. And all I was talking about was the whistleblowers coming forward talking about their experience in the crash retrieval program, and they think that it's just all made up or whatever. But they're convinced about underground people, lizard people, and the Galactic Federation. Like, they take that hook, line.
So I don't believe in one conspiracy theory hardcore, but I believe in another.
That's totally reversed. You would think that if you believed in the Galactic Federation, that reverse engineering technology would be like a stone's throw from that. That doesn't make sense.
Well, they don't even believe we went to the moon. They think we faked it. So
yeah,
I mean,
right.
But there's a Galactic Federation and lizard people, but the moon is fake, or like I don't.
Well, I think it was just more the technology to be able to get there. It's like, you know, you even hear people in Europe, if UFOs are real, how come they're only in the U.S. or whatever? But really, we've been retrieving stuff from
there's a lot of UFOs in Europe, though.
Yeah,
like, there's UFOs all over the goddamn place.
Austria and Germany have like crazy UFO sightings.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's where do you think they got the specialists to reverse engineer this stuff? You know, and it's like I got a file cabinet full of paper clipped documents about it.
All right, but wait. So Stargate, though, when we're talking about Stargate, what's on the other side of the gate? Is it space? Is it time? Is it the multiverse?
No, it's a location. The wormhole travels to a specific location, which is registered through the DHD, which was the colloquially known as the dial home device. It's that big circular thing that's in front of every Stargate where it has the symbols on it, and you hit the constellation. That's what locks it in, and then you see the little there you go. Yeah, so you see so you can control your destination through the DHD, and the reason why the US has such a big Stargate command base is because it takes all that tech to do that same exact thing as the one DHD is, and the reason why they don't have it there is because they need it in the Arctic.
This is all soft disclosure, by the way. This is all just.
There's so much power.
This is Stargate lore. This is not like conspiracy theory. It's like you can watch the
same
show.
thing, though. I believe there's like Stargate is basically disclosure, though. I've always have, right? Like the first movie shows how it would happen that Stargate would be discovered, that like somebody would be brought in because they discovered in the desert, of course, isn't it like in Egypt or Iraq or something like that?
Yeah, I think that was in Egypt. The Stargate that they saw. I think there's.
Well, that's what they said that Iraq was about. Was that they found another Stargate in Iraq, and that's why they were getting all of their like artifacts and everything. They cleared out their museum while they were there, and a lot of people think that they were there just for that.
That's what the war in Iraq was about, or something.
Yeah, they said they found a giant there.
Fact check: did U.S. invade Iraq to access quote ancient Stargate? Newsweek. Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, go to the most reputable source you can, Andreas. I'm sure Newsweek is it.
If Newsweek is talking about it, then that means that the CIA wants you to know it happened and then not that make your mom
deny
be
it
able
simultaneously.
to deny it for your mom to sleep at night at the same time. Mythoclast did remember for 13 months. What a auspicious Mayan calendar of a number. Did they get rid of all the telephone booths so that we can't travel like Bill and Ted? Oh man,
with the Matrix.
No, it was so I couldn't change.
Do I still have the picture up? I actually saw a telephone booth the other night in Austria, but I can't find it now. DeFi booth Austria. Oh man, so here's a picture of it basically. So if you walk around Austria now, you'll find phone booths again, but they have, instead of phones, defibrillators.
Nice.
Just because you know how many people are having heart attacks. Well, yeah, I guess more and more people seem to be having heart attacks these days, right?
That's
So
complete coincidence, Andreas. It has nothing to do with anything.
I didn't. What? Who said? Did you just say it has something to do with something? I didn't. Who did this? Who did
Well,
this?
like vaccination.
Because life
What?
is so exciting.
I didn't
It's-
say. Nobody
it's
was asking if that was a thing. Oh, who said
Dude,
that?
it's because
saying
life
he's on
is so
vacation.
exciting now.
Yeah,
That people are just having, they're just excited.
Just excited.
What's
So
so
they're
going
having-
from excitement, guys?
So if this show was too exciting for you, look for your local defibrillator. Oh my
Dude, you
god!
have to end the show like that. If the show was exciting for you, go find your nearest defibrillator.
It's like
All
a
right,
video
let me-
game item.
Let me also tell people you can go to see some of my friends' stuff. Terror Risk. I was going to go to Terror Risk's website, but in the meantime, because he's working on his site, go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
his Twitter. You want to go to Twitter?
Yeah, what's your at, dude?
So yeah, check out. Everyone should follow everybody here, and I mean that also for the audience, but you guys too. Terror Risk is Tarot Risk. It sounds like Tarot _ risk right here.
The most
You can find
unmarketable podcast in the world.
Terror. I thought mine was unmarketable. I like yours. Yours has music. So if you like music and you think that Chris is a chill guy, because I do, he's great. He has a pretty steady gig doing his podcast and asking questions. It's got a nice ambiance. I kind of want to show up here one night and do it.
That's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be
It's gonna be
great.
good.
And he's got the Folgers can. It's a major thing to have a Folgers can. It's really practical. You can
It's got
stack
weed in it.
Oh, nice. That's crazy. That's what people do with Folgers cans. Crazy. All right.
Oh, bro. Taylor, you got reruns going on? I was excited there for a second.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. So then also Superman, if he wasn't afraid of green rocks. This is our friend right here. Green Rocks, we call him on the side. He's been hanging out, gorillaing up. What's up, buddy? And then so yeah, you want to check him out, Superman, if he wasn't afraid of green rocks. It's pretty easy to remember name.
Yeah, also go check out the Legion of Memers if you like memes. When we are able to cover shows, we throw the memes up, put the hashtag in there. So if you watch a show and you're memeing, don't forget to use the hashtag. The YouTube
Legion of Beamers. You know?
The YouTube channel for right now has been put on pause as I am figuring out some things. Andreas, I will talk to you about that privately in the back.
Oh, man.
But please follow the Legion of Memers
Private.
and myself, and go support the community. Have fun, interact with people.
Base Legion of Memers. Pretty sweet people. Gotta love them. And then we'll go check out Bat Monkey Customs, which is Andrew Vega right here. And he's doing all kinds of interesting stuff. And I want to see more. We're gonna talk more with the Little Red Book people from Red Note. I want to see basically, dude, don't you guys need an Andrew in your life? Don't you just wish you had an Andrew like me?
I
Pretty
can't not
sweet.
laugh every time I see Elon do that now. It's just too funny. I can't.
It's going to be a very meme-rich administration.
Connor, Tickety, what's your Twitter again? I forgot.
Oh, my Twitter is I use it sometimes. It's 5D Live.
5D. I was trying to remember 0 or something like that.
Yeah, the fifth
But-
dimension, baby.
5 with a 5 for the F. That's right. 5 with a 5 for the F.
Yeah.
That's how you find him, bro. And he's doing some cool stuff. And yeah, like he said, he's got that Mormon Mayflower stock. You want to check him out. He's a fun character. He's a good guy.
Oh, check
He's a-
out this. I want them to see this meme that I did with Exhibit. Go to Exhibit. It's up
This
a little
one?
bit. So yeah, so I heard you like conspiracies, so I give you a conspiracy, so you can conspiracy while you conspiracy.
Oh,
I
dude,
thought
you
that
should
was pretty
You
fun.
should have spelled it conspiracy. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's too
With an EAR, brilliant.
All right, that's pretty good. And you can find me, Andreas Xirtus. Make sure you join the Advanced Philosophy Memes X community right here, because we're doing pretty fun stuff right there. And thank you guys for being here. That was a lot of fun. Oh, I'm gonna let Chris just do the thing. Chris, remind us that we need to be grateful.
Oh, I'd like to thank everyone here, and I want to thank, as usual, everyone watching. Your comments are much appreciated, especially the critical ones. They're really funny, and I enjoy them too. And I love you all, and I appreciate everyone who spends their time hanging with us here. It's really cool.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Love you.
Yeah,
Good
thank
night.
you all for having me. It was great talking to you guys.
Next time. Oh wait.
Advanced philosophy memes. We have made good memes. Advanced philosophy memes.